Good morning, gentlemen. It is Monday, July the 22nd, 2019, week 15 after all that fucking time has finally come to an end. Thank God. And what a week we have had. We have got some race here in the Bigs. We have a very, very tight race in the Bigs. 8 teams now separated by 12 games. It's amazing. Let me bring in my co-host, Benjamin Aloysius Nisman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Joseph Schubert. It's so good to be back. It's been a long time since we've talked, but mainly what I saw here was just the top teams taking care of business. One spoiler job and another thromping. Mickey Dragon, tell us where we went wrong.
Let's get to that when we get to that matchup. Let's start with yours. You kick us off this week as you were the top team. You know, we both had rough weeks this week, man, and you know you ran into a bit of a headache in James Santangelo this week. A 13-8 loss. James won it by a double and 2 homers. You didn't win anything close, and you guys didn't tie in anything other than complete games. On your bench this week, Benji, 14 for 71. That's a 197 batting average. 3 runs, 3 doubles, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, 19 strikeouts, and 2 errors. You can't ask for a whole lot more there, you know, considering...
No, I can. I don't agree. Those 3 doubles, I am so kicking myself for, Joe, because there were so many... Joey Votto was in the lineup, I believe it was Thursday, and I pulled him at the last moment. Same goes for Miggy, and definitely Kevin Newman on Sunday. He was definitely in. And the reason why I benched him, believe it or not, man, I got away with one on the Votto because he also had an error with his double. That would have only put me ahead by 1. But Kevin Newman has not made an error yet, I believe, and I was just figuring an infielder is more due for one. So I kind of wanted to just see what would happen. And then I had Trey Turner in the night game to kind of feel it out, what's been going on. But that was sort of my reasoning, to be honest with you, of why I benched Kevin Newman. And it beat me, man. A big double from him. And I was getting fired up because Buster Posey against us, he knocks a double. I mean, I'm not excited as a Mets fan. I was just saying.
No, you're excited as a fantasy owner.
Tie that double.
Yeah.
Tie the category. But then all of a sudden, James gets Grandal with a pinch hit double. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So then he wins the category that way. But again, there was definitely opportunities for at least tying the category. I did not do so. So that's kind of a heartbreaker. Even tying it makes it a 12-8. It feels a little bit better. But
right.
It's not what happened, and it's just a tough loss there.
And you know what? I think it's just another case of, like, we know that James Santangelo's offense has been really good most of the season, and he, you know, on paper will have a great offense most weeks when you get the Brewers and the Rockies going as they should. And this is just another week of that. You know, offensively, he dominated you for all intents and purposes. At the end of the day, though, your pitching staff, your bullpen is what carried you through and gave you those 8 categories. You know, errors notwithstanding, you know, you took down what you expect to take down week in and week out. And I don't think it's indicative of you know, you running into an offense similar either later on this season or in the playoffs. I think you're going to be able to compete with some of these top offenses down the way, where this 13-8 drubbing, as we're going to call it, is going to be a hell of a lot more competitive. You know, 13 homers should win you a week. You know, 47 runs should keep you competitive. Now, some of these numbers are a bit inflated because we did have 11 days this week, but if you scale it back a little bit, okay, you had 4 extra days. So maybe you had 9 homers this week and, you know, 38 runs scored. That's still going to be really competitive most weeks. So, you know, I don't see this being as big a deal of a loss as, say, what we'll get into in a little bit. As for your moves this week, I see on Sunday you added and dropped Joe Ross and you added and dropped Tyler Clippard. Was that more for what we talked about previously? Were you planning for Monday?
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly the reason. But I mean, we could talk about all the moves that I made, and they were just 0 for 3s.
Sure.
Zanino was one.
Zanino is a mess. You know, Victor Reyes was nice for you when you had him.
No, absolutely not. I think, if anything, when I needed him most is when he didn't carry me through, I felt. I mean, I had a good Steven Vogt play, I guess, but again, none of these offensive categories, they didn't matter. You know, you're right. Yeah. Maybe I would have competed against a couple other teams. But at the end, the only offensive category I think I won was errors.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
It just, in this case, I hope you're right with what you're saying, Joe, that you really feel like it is a competitive offense enough that with what my pitching has done all season, that it can hold me around at least for a little bit longer.
Right. Do I think your offense, you've seen the best that your offense can be this season already? Yes, I do. And that's, the last couple of weeks where you were hitting, 15, 16 homers in a week? I think that is not where your offense is going to lie. However, you've got a ton of on-base guys, guys like Votto and Santana and Miggy Cabrera and, Jason Hayward. A lot of these guys will live to keep your offense afloat and competitive against a lot of teams. But again, I don't see it as a powerhouse offense. The powerhouse of your team exists out in that bullpen and in that pitching staff, and that's what's going to let you live and die this season. Go ahead.
Listen, at this point, I'm happy with what the pitching has done. There were some surprise moves. I thought there would have been a shot for me to take strikeouts because I could have chased it later if I played Kyle Gibson. That was a choice that I felt he was going against Oakland, and Oakland hadn't lost a game since the Stone Age.
Right.
So I just didn't think it was the right play at that point when losses were really close. And ERA and all these things were up for grabs. But I sat him, and he had a great start. He got the win, had a bunch of strikeouts. And then the next day, I went with sitting Wainwright, and that ended up working out. He had a tough start, then Tanaka the next day. I just had to keep sitting him until finally James had a loss from Lucchesi, the Padres starter.
Yep.
And then
he had a bad start in Chicago.
That was and then all of a sudden, someone in his bullpen, he also committed an error, and that he also had a loss, and that was the difference. And at least I could hold as many pitching categories to just grab 8. Grab as many as I could, and that I hope you're right that it's a surmountable loss. It's good that it's against a team that's towards the bottom of the pack. I realize that these next 3 weeks for me are the most important weeks. If I can go 2 out of 3 or somehow get all 3 in the next 3, but at this point, maybe you're right. This is the best way to lose the streak. It felt good while it lasted.
Sure.
But it's certainly something that I should credit James for because his offense is still a great offense. And I think that was mainly the reason that there was no chance for me to make enough moves anyway. There wasn't that much on the bench that we can say, well, if I did it all right, I still wouldn't have lost. The only one was doubles. So that's one. And
yeah, you can't beat yourself up over just that, whether it's the Kevin Newman benching or the Joey Votto benching, at the end of the day, it's one category. If you end up losing and not making it into the playoffs by one category, I don't think you're going to beat yourself up over a Kevin Newman bench in late July.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I do, man. I really do.
Think about all of them, We talk down every single week, Joe. You and I talk about this one could have been won here. This one could have, and it's true because on Sunday we see it. We see it on the bench, and we see that this one would have made a difference and at least gotten this opponent a better win or a worse loss or whatever it is. Then at least, at the end of the day, when you count all those stats up, they do matter, and you do think about I was really thinking about doing this, but I left it on the bench.
Yeah. Let's jump to James's team. On his bench, he went 8 for 49. That's a 163 batting average with 7 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 2 steals, 5 walks, 8 strikeouts, and 2 errors. When it comes right down to it, aside from, one play here or there with Jose Martinez on Friday or Brandon Belt last Tuesday, Thursday, I'm not even sure, maybe Sunday, he played it really well. He played it really, really well. He did bench a couple of pitchers that one was a good start and one was a really bad start. He benched a Tanner Roark start and benched a Jake Arrieta good start. Not a whole lot of moves. The pickup of Austin Voth on the 16th gave him a really good start there. I was thinking of starting this guy myself. 6 innings, a win, 4 strikeouts, 1 earned run. It was in Baltimore. The question was just like, what Baltimore team is going to show up? Who is this guy, Austin Voth? Is he for real, or is he just a spot start that they're like, go out and take a beating for us if you have to. Like, try not to get destroyed, and we'll see what we can do here. Or if this kid's a legitimate prospect that they're going to be using going forward. As it turns out, he ends up in the DL, and that's where we're at. There's, like I said, there's not a whole lot to write home here about what he left on his bench. A 163 batting average, that's about as good as you could possibly ask for. And he won as many offensive categories as he did. He even left 2 errors on the bench, so that, maybe puts a little bit more pressure on you to not get any errors late in the week, which is why you end up benching Kevin Newman.
Right.
He
leaves those 2 errors on the bench, and it really psyched me out for the most part. Mm-hmm. I was thinking James is a pretty good defensive team, more or less. Mm-hmm. We can check what he's done. I'm sure, he's probably 500 depending on who he's playing, but you could look also up on the totals.
I've got it right now.
If you have it in front of you. But I'll say that I know that 2 errors on the bench was a gift to him, and I wasn't expecting to win that category at that point. So that in a way, you're right. That had something to do with it. Also, the picking up of Jurickson Profar, hitting 3 home runs.
Yeah.
I lose that category by 2. So if he decides not to do that, Profar wasn't the guy that he goes and picks up, he doesn't beat me in that category probably. It's possible maybe I changed my team accordingly, but it didn't. He made that play for Profar, and I just went about my business, So that guy beat me, and I think I beat myself, of course, with the benching of Newman on Sunday. But again, he had a good offense. The pitching, the benching of Arrieta, that surprised me. But
it was early in the week, and I don't know. I don't have in front of me who the start was against. Give me one moment, and I will. But Arrieta's an interesting case. The start was against Washington at home. I can understand the benching there. Citizens Bank
in that ballpark.
Against that lineup. Yep.
Washington, has a great stat is that only until yesterday they basically almost beat a record of how many starters without a loss, starting pitchers in a row until last night. But I see your point, but it was early enough. But I don't know. Good offense. Just kind of throw it out there, but
and he did just enough to take enough pitching stats to win the week. He won strikeouts, he won wins, and he won innings pitched. Those are 3 stats that the way your team is constructed, you're going to have a hard time competing with that, because all he's got to do is throw as many against the wall as he can, and that's going to win him innings. Chances are it's going to win him wins if he does it right, and he's going to get strikeouts. Strikeouts are up across the league, so all you got to do is throw enough guys against the wall. Look, I've done it all season, except for this fucking week, and and it works. It's a sound strategy. You hit on.
I'm surprised that I threw out a 3.15 ERA at 54 innings.
Sure.
That number actually surprises me when I look at it, though.
Oh yeah.
It's a very quiet 3.18.
Exactly. You hit on the defensive team that James has. He's middle of the pack as far as totals are concerned. He has 50 errors for the season, and that's kind of indicative of where he stands as far as win-loss is concerned. He's 6-7-2. He's just sort of a middle of the pack defensive team. Would you know off the top of your head what team has the most errors in our league? As a wild guess.
It's a very tough call. Is it me?
No, you're actually fourth with only 46 on the season.
I'm fourth to worst?
No, fourth best.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'll say Mike Sherman.
That is correct. 74 errors on the season. It's Mike Sherman. And then as far as win-loss is concerned, your record stands at 9-4-2, which is pretty good. And our worst record-wise is Andy Solar-Greco at 2-8-5. Mike Sherman is 5-9-1. Not that that's much better.
No. But if he switches that around, if somehow he had a better defensive week on a couple of them, he's a little closer in this race. And he's very much still in this race, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Let's jump to the key players in this matchup for the week. For James, who won the week, it's the same kind of guys that we've been talking about all season, especially starting with Christian Yelich. Yelich, is carrying this team all season and does it again this week. 405 average, 463 on base percentage, 10 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 4 homers, 9 RBIs, 4 steals, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts. Just a really ridiculously strong week from the MVP candidate again this week. Mike Moustakas joined right up alongside him. 316 average, 366 on base percentage, 7 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, a homer, 7 RBIs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. And finally, Daniel Murphy, 361 average, 395 on base, 8 runs, 4 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Pitching-wise for him, Robbie Ray was really good for him this week. I know Robbie Ray is kind of hit and miss. 12 1/3, 2 wins, 4 homers you don't like to see, 3 walks, 15 strikeouts though, a 3.65 ERA, and an 0.89 WHIP. The 2 starts came in St. Louis and in Texas, both on the road, obviously. 15 strikeouts was 8 and 7 apiece, 6 innings and 6 1/3. He gave up 3 home runs in Texas, but we know what kind of bandbox Texas is, so it's not all that surprising. But if you can get away in a 2-start week with a 3.65 ERA and a 12 innings and 2 wins, I think you'll take that every time out from a guy like Robbie Ray.
Yeah, he's a solid pitcher. I feel like this is pretty solid numbers at this point in the season, coming after the All-Star break. And this is a reason why Arizona Diamondbacks are still in this wild card race. Pesky team, and he's a young guy, pretty tough pitcher, and going into 2020 for fantasy, if this guy can keep it up, this is a guy to look at, because obviously, National League, hoping that, I don't think they have the chance to change us to a DH.
No, not yet.
Next year in 2020.
Not yet. It's after the next CBA, which is 2024 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got some time.
Yeah.
But solid player, and kept me on the ropes.
Yeah. Blake Snell had two solid. Well, is it 2 solid starts? Yeah, it was 2 really good starts this week. 11 innings, a win, 1 home run. That was the only earned run he gave up this week, was a solo home run against the Yankees. 4 walks, 14 strikeouts. That's an 0.82 ERA and an 0.91 WHIP. Again, the 2 starts in Yankee Stadium and against Chicago at home. 6 innings against Chicago with 10 strikeouts is obviously the better start. Finally,
heck of a start, Joe. Heck of a start into Sunday for James to do whatever he had to chase WHIP.
Yeah.
And his whip was good on Sunday. I just had a feeling, I think I had him by about 25 points. So I thought, in order for him to reach me, he'd have to do something so miraculous.
Yeah.
He got pretty close, but
I was he cut it in half.
Mathematically.
He basically cut your whip lead in half on Sunday.
Yeah.
If you were saying it's about 25 points, that would put him at a 139. He ends with a 127. He cut it absolutely in half, and that's to be commended. Who knows? If you don't bench all your guys, who knows what happens on Sunday?
Right. No, I was considering going for a start because we were close in strikeouts, and I thought, I picked up Joe Ross, and no one really. I don't know if anyone picked up on this, so I could say it now. I dropped him, and if someone had open spots and an open rotation spot, they could have technically gone for it. Like, for instance, Bobby, Noah Syndergaard was in his rotation, right? So let's say he's like, you never know what happens. Let me just leave my SP spot open. Let me have a roster spot open. And Bobby was chasing wins. He got one late. He got one really late against the Mets.
Yeah, one of our 6 fucking extra inning games this week or something.
Yeah. So he gets the one from the relief, but I'm just saying, like, maybe he goes and gets Joe Ross because when I drop him, he doesn't go to waivers. He goes to free agents.
No, a same day drop doesn't. Yeah, a same day drop does not live by the waiver rule.
Right. So anyway, my point was that I was considering going for the Toronto Blue Jays starter that Bobby picked up. The young guy that just got recalled in Detroit was a consideration. The guy on Sunday to get was the guy that pitched for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
So
that Wojciechowski kid
that against the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
But just something that you notice, and again, just tipping my cap everywhere. Everyone just totally, completely did a great job. As far as the spoilers, again at this point, like, I don't know what you think, but like, we have a pretty set 8 guys, and then now we have these other Ari, Sherman.
We've got 8 guys locked in for 6 playoff spots. 2 outside candidates who have, like, the candle's still lit, but man, it is really, really flickering to ready to go out. And then you've got, what, 6? Call it 6 spoiler teams? From Santangelo on down? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 spoiler teams.
Yeah. Wow. It's unbelievable because at this point, we'll talk about the trade in a bit, but now, at this point, anyone that's a spoiler team playing against a team that's playing in the race knows that they have a chance to change somebody's season.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that to me is always, and I kind of knew that I was out of it in 2016. I knew I was kind of creeping towards the end, but I knew I was basically out of it last year. But, a couple of late wins, and, you all of a sudden make the difference in some way.
Yeah. A win in week 20, a win in week 21 can be all the difference and can ruin somebody's season of, 6 months that we put into this, can be flushed out in a matter of 2 days.
No doubt. It's everybody's hard work put into it, and then all of a sudden you walk into a team that had a good week and was, like, playing hard to just at least win that week.
Let's wrap up James's pitchers here. Dakota Hudson gave him 2 wins across 11 innings. A 4.09 ERA, a 1.36 WHIP. They weren't great. He did give up 2 homers and 6 walks with 8 strikeouts. But the 2 wins is what's important here. He wins by 3 there. He gets enough strikeouts to get the win and the innings pitched to those three stats in particular. The starts were at home against Arizona and in Cincinnati. The Arizona start was a quality start, 6 innings, a win, 5 strikeouts, and just it looks like 2 earned. We'll jump to your team, Benji. Trey Mancini had himself a week. 276 average, 344 on base, 7 runs, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and an enormous 12 strikeouts. Jason Hayward gave you a good week as well. 367 average, 387 on base, 3 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 6 RBIs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. And finally, and I don't really remember when you picked this guy up, but Renato Nunez was really good for you. 294 average, .351 on base percentage, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a walk, and 10 big strikeouts. When did you pick up Renato Nunez, and how do you feel your offense did, running into this kind of a juggernaut?
I was surprised by at least some of the work that it did. I think technically the moves that I did, if you could pull them up, actually made my numbers look worse than they were as far as percentages.
Yeah.
But Stephen Vogt was actually a decent pickup.
Stephen Vogt was the only one that was good. Zunino was a disaster. Reyes wasn't all that good. Grossman was bad.
Grossman, right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Again, the Mancini, the 2 home run show were just on Sunday. So at that point, I needed a whole lot more to catch James. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, against the juggernaut team, maybe you're right. Like, maybe I'm beating myself up. But
yeah, you held your own.
I don't know.
Three steals most weeks against many teams will hold up. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 teams in this league that will not hold up against, or at least be competitive against. And we'll get to one later. I think he set a record this week, but I digress. Continue.
I was also going to say that at least, I'm playing against someone that's at the bottom of the pack. So, I realize that if I'm going to take a loss, this is the time to take it, These next 3 weeks are the most important weeks of the season. I mean, I know I've said this already, but it's just the impact that going against Bobby, then you, and then Jason Ashby, what happens with those 3, and then you just follow it, and the 4 of us are going to be just battling it out.
Yeah.
And until, it's going to be those next 4 or 5 weeks, however it is, how we do the merry-go-round with the 4 of us, is going to decide possibly who's in and who's out of the playoffs. Absolutely.
I was going to say something and I lost it. Let's move on to your pitching key players for the week. It's Ian Kennedy. Ian Kennedy gave you 5 saves across 5 relief appearances, 4 1/3 innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 2.08 ERA, and a 1.15 WHIP. Seth Lugo was arguably your best reliever this week. 4 relief appearances, 3 2/3 with 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, and an 0.27 WHIP. And finally, Adam Wainwright. I'm going to give it to him. 7 innings, a win, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, and 0.71 WHIP. Pitching wise, like I said, your team's going to live and die by that bullpen. You're going to live and die by keeping your innings down, your strikeouts down, your ERA and WHIP down. Homers and walks will be down, and your saves and relief appearances will be up, and your losses will be down because of the structure of your team and the structure of that pitching staff. And it shows. It shows in a matchup like this where, James didn't pitch poorly. 4.56 ERA. It's not great, but it's competitive.
No.
And a 1.27 WHIP is absolutely competitive.
Sure.
So
yes, it depends on if you guys are chasing innings or not.
Sure.
Him and I weren't really going for it in innings as much as some other teams do. And as Kennedy was one of the guys you mentioned. I benched him actually because the losses were still close at that point, and I thought, hey, if this is a close game and Kennedy comes in the game and he just blows it, and that's a loss. And what's funny is Kennedy ends up coming in that game that I bench him. It's a 1-0 game. He comes in and he shuts the door 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So if you look at the stats, Kennedy actually pitched over 5 innings, and his ERA is under 2, and a couple more strikeouts.
Yeah, so you just left him on the bench for one of them. Yeah.
Fine for me. Huh?
Yeah, you just left him on the bench for safety, and I don't blame you.
Right.
Yeah. With this loss, Benny, you dropped to second, and I'll say this: the undefeated streak is wonderful to see. It certainly must be wonderful to be in over the vast majority of this season. I mean, it's what do we say, 12 straight without a loss?
Yeah.
I think if anybody is naive enough to think that this was going to last you the entire rest of the season through the playoffs and let you win a championship, they were kind of smoking something. if you were, and it's like you said, if you were going to take a loss, let it be here against a team that isn't chasing you, that isn't in the playoff hunt with you, and let it be a loss like 13-8, where it's still respectable and you're not blown out completely, and you end up going from first place to you're a half game behind. Now that monkey is off your back, where you're not every week going, okay, I've won I haven't lost since week 2. I need to keep this going. That's gone now. And you can focus more on, all right, charge to the playoffs. Because if you had gotten through James, and then you get through Bobby and me and Jason, and all of a sudden you're staring down Ari in week 19 without a loss in 17 weeks, I think it's within your realm of thinking to go, maybe I could just win out. And just stamp this down as saying, like, this is one of the best seasons ever done.
Right. No, it didn't seem like this kind of a team, though, to me, Joe. And a lot of the streak, they weren't big wins. There was an 11-9, a 12-9, a 10-9. Mm-hmm. Nothing that really stood out as, like, there were a couple double up ones short, But amongst the streak,
Ben,
always competing against me.
I'm going to cut you off there. There's a 4-week stretch against James McCloskey, Josh Haber, Frank Bucco, and Jimmy Dunlap. 14-7, 14-6, 18-4, 14-7.
Okay, fair. All right. I'm thinking about a 12-9 over Uncle Barry, a tie.
That was one of the greatest matchups in Big's history, that 12-9 win. Are you kidding me? That was the week that you guys both pitched like a 1.2 ERA. That's one of the greatest matchups we've ever seen. And right before that, you crushed Mike Sherman 15-3.
Yeah, that was a big part of it.
This might not be one of those dominant teams. This might not be one of those dominant teams like mine last year with 3 Cy Young candidates and 3 outfielders all fighting for the MVP race. Like, it's not going to be one of those teams. But this management, Benny, that's what I'm more saying. Like, you're putting your stamp on this season and going, look, I may not put together the greatest roster that has ever been put together in the Bigs, but look at what I have done with what I have. And if you'd gotten through this week, there was no reason you couldn't have started to. It may have started creeping into your mind. Maybe I can just win out.
No doubt. And there were times where I was just thinking, let me sit Cabrera today. And it turned out, it seemed like there were times where I was just making the right decision. Like you said, I had some good choices on the bench. When I decided to sit Jason Hayward on Saturday and Mickey, and that's an 0 for 6, 2 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. So there were times where I feel like I was making the right decision there. For me now, Joe, as we go forward, for me, it's just knock another day off the calendar.
Sure.
Just, tread water. Just tread water.
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like, it would be so sweet to get a number 1 or a number 2. Like, for our league, for the competition, to automatically stamp your ticket to the Final Four, like, that's huge. But we're all such great managers. At this point, I'll absolutely sign up for a playoff spot and go from there.
Well, that's what I'm looking to sign up for as well. However, I put a really big fucking damper on chances this season. We'll jump to my matchup with Jimmy, and credit where it's due. This guy kicked my fucking ass. Like, there's no two ways about it. It was competitive up until Friday. It was 10-9, it was 11-9, it was 11-8, and I just kept thinking, like, I can't seem to keep up. I can't seem to keep up with what he's doing. Our ERAs were really close. Our WHIP was really close. Our strikeouts were really close. Our innings were really close all week. And then somehow this weekend, he just... And I can pinpoint the exact day it happened. It was Friday. But we'll get to that in a minute. For close categories this week, Jimmy won by 3 strikeouts, a complete game, and an error. I won by a win. And we tied in home runs and walks given up by a pitcher. For Jimmy's team, who won the week, he went 20 for 65. That's a 308 batting average. 13 runs, a double, 5 homers, 12 RBIs, 2 steals, 4 walks, and 20 strikeouts. At the end of the day, here's another situation where he won the vast majority of the offensive stats. So if I sit here and pinpoint, he sat A.J. Pollock in 2 games, and the guy homered,
Couple dingers.
Yeah. Oh,
wow.
5 homers, absolutely. Whether it was Scott Kingery, whether it was A.J. Pollock, whether it was Max Kepler with 2 homers. He did have the opportunity to win that stat outright. But we each hit 18 home runs. That's enormous. And I just kept saying to myself, this is a week where I should be competing. And all of a sudden, I go from 11-8 to 15-4 in one day. And it was demoralizing is a good word for it. His moves this week, he dropped Jose Alvarado, who went on the DL and will be gone for the vast majority of the rest of the season. But when I look at a lot of his moves, it was all pitchers. It was all pitchers. Relief pitchers for the relief appearances that he won by 3, and the fucking starters that he streamed, man. He crushed me. He crushed me on Friday. And let's just go ahead and jump into that right now. Friday the 19th, I started Justin Verlander against Texas. I started Eric Lauer in Chicago against the Cubs, and Tyler Mahle at home against St. Louis. I got beat bad. I got, 16 innings out of those guys, a win, ton of strikeouts, but the ERA was bad. I ended with a 5.82 on the day. In response, he started Mike Minor against Houston, up against Justin Verlander. He starts Mike Leake at home against LA, and Tyler Beede at home against the Mets. You know how many earned runs Tyler Beede and Mike Leake gave up in those 2 starts, Ben?
No.
None. The answer is 0. Over 17 innings, these guys gave up nothing. Mike Leake goes a complete game. He damn near threw a perfect game. Tyler Beede goes 8 innings. It was the 1-0 extra innings game, so he got the no decision. But those guys combined for 17 innings, 11 strikeouts, 2 walks, no earned runs, and they have whips respectively of 0.22 and 0.50. You add in Mike Minor's 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, somehow gave up 4 solo home runs, but he still only has a 1.14 whip. He ends the day with a 1.63 ERA and an 0.65 whip, 3 relief appearances, 25 strikeouts over 27 2/3 innings. That buried me. Absolutely buried me. That was Friday. The 19th. From there,
that had you in a loss no matter what.
Yeah.
And I felt like the rest of it was just you trying to salvage some categories that got close towards the end.
Yeah. I ended up going down in innings pitched, which is not a category I lose. I don't lose innings pitched. In fact, it's only the second time this season I have lost. And I lead the league in innings pitched by almost 100 innings. I don't lose that category. That is not something I lose. So for Jimmy to come in and crush me by over 20 innings, crush me in strikeouts by 30.
No. Who's this? Cal Quantrill? Is this Paul Quantrill's kid?
Yes.
Almost 6 innings pitched. He got the win. He didn't give up
in relief.
6 strikeouts.
In relief, he comes in and does that. So yeah, that's a great start. But he started in the 2nd inning, went all the way to the 8th, and gives him that. I just couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up with the relief appearances, the strikeouts, the innings. I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I tied homers with as many as he had on his bench.
No, he beat you at your own game, and this is a rookie manager. It is very impressive.
It's incredibly impressive. On my bench this week, I went 11 for 42, which is a 262 batting average, 8 runs, a double, 2 triples, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks, and 15 strikeouts. I didn't leave all that much on my bench. There was a point where he was up like 20-5 in doubles. So I punted that category.
Where were the home runs you could have put in there? Was there an opportunity to stick around?
So Garrett Cooper on the 16th, which was Tuesday of early in the week. Garrett Cooper goes 2 for 3 with a homer and 3 RBIs on the bench. But I have Eloy Jimenez in the lineup, and Eloy Jimenez had been ridiculously hot with like 15 homers in his last 155 at-bats.
Right.
But that was the day he had the collision with his teammate and hurt his arm. So
Bad luck.
I lose him that inning, in the first inning, and I can't do anything about it. Garrett Cooper was great for me the rest of the week. I take that back. He was kind of... Well, hang on. Matchup totals. Garrett Cooper was okay. He gave me a homer, hit 300. He was okay. The other home run I had on the 18th, a couple of days later, that was Mitch Garver. He was facing Oakland, who hadn't lost in God knows how long. It was a solo shot. I was starting Jorge Alfaro against San Diego. He went, looks like 0 for 3 with a run and a walk. I'm going to live and die by the fact that I have two decent catchers that I will stream in and out. And days they do great, wonderful. Days that happens, I have to kind of live with it. Did it cost me? Yeah, I think it did cost me the home run category there. But, when you hit 18 home runs, you kind of expect to win. And
right.
I just didn't. Moves for me this week. I started off by streaming Jason Vargas. He was fucking awful. I streamed Homer Bailey, and that was the day he got traded. I fucking lost a Homer Bailey start, which would have been nice. Would that have been closer in innings? Sure. Would that have been closer in strikeouts? Probably. Would my ERA have been lower? Perhaps. Instead, I had to drop him for Robert Stevenson, who got me a few relief appearances. I picked up Alex Dickerson, who's been really good for me. But again, I streamed pitchers that just didn't do well. Trevor Richards, Eric Lauer, Tyler Mahle, Jason Vargas. I got really fortunate on Saturday that I was able to get Adam Plutko, Jake Junis, and Jose Barrios to all give me really good starts. I end up with an 0.42 ERA that kept it close. But, again, I just couldn't keep up with Jimmy. And my hat's off to him. It was a fantastic week for him. We'll jump to key players, unless you've got something you want to jump in there with.
No, go ahead.
All right.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Key players this week for Jimmy. We're going to start with Max Muncy, who early in the week, I'm watching Max Muncy it was like every day he was hitting another home run. And I'm like, can this guy please fucking stop? 294 average, 415 on base, 10 runs, 4 homers, 8 RBIs, 6 walks, 13 strikeouts, 4 errors. That sucks, but he still won errors somehow. Keston Hiura was just fucking tearing my asshole inside out. A 512 average, a 556 on base percentage, 9 runs, 8 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, 11 RBIs, 3 steals, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, and an error. And finally, Anthony Rizzo, who really put the RBI conversation to bed. He hit a grand slam on Friday the 19th when, basically the matchup was decided. He hit a grand slam and he hit it off Eric Lauer, and I went, that's it. That is everything I need to know about this matchup right now. It was close, and then my guy gives up a grand slam to his guy when RBIs are close and ERAs are close and home runs are close and all of these things are that close. Rizzo hits 500 for the week. A 553 on base percentage, 8 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 10 RBIs, a steal, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. But what's really aggravating is that the entire week, which started on the 11th, he got a hit every single game he played. And all but 2 of them, he got multi-hit games.
Right.
He went 1 for 3 on the 12th and 1 for 3 on the 17th. Otherwise, 2 for 5, 2 for 4, 2 for 3. Just crushed me. They wore me out. This offense just did not stop. And look, I hit 275. That's a respectable batting average. I hit 18 home runs. That's a respectable home run total. I scored 47 runs. That's a respectable run total. And I just got blown out.
It's tough because you don't know when you're going to get those numbers again. Your team has sustained those numbers, but any team can go cold at any point. Mm-hmm. So, when you put up those numbers, you want to win a majority of those categories. You expect to win a majority of those categories because you don't know the next week, all of a sudden, half your guys, some guys get sad. If you have the light day on Monday or Thursday, you don't get to play as many guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of reaching for free agency for guys. It's not necessarily the same thing. So,
Yeah.
hey, again, tip the cap to the other man, because now he's won 5 out of his last 7 weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
5 out of 8, you count the tie with Frank, but
Yeah.
he's on a roll right now. He's won 2 in a row. He's got a. This is a tough competitor.
He's still got
the next.
Yeah, he's still got a rough road ahead of him. He's got Jason and Ari and Mike Sherman. He could really put the hammer down on Ari and Mike Sherman in week 17 and 18.
Right.
But he's got who's Brock in a hard place? Who just changed their name as we're talking? Oh, it's Uncle Barry.
No way.
Yeah, Uncle Barry changed his name again to Brock in a hard place.
Oh man, he needed that earlier, because the war that he had against his opponent. Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
A name change did something miraculous this week in one of our matchups.
Yeah. Let's jump to Jimmy's pitchers. I'll give credit where it's due. It's Mike Leake. It's a complete game shutout, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 0.22 whip. There's not a whole lot I can say about that guy. Liam Hendricks, 5 relief appearances, 4 2/3, a win, a loss, 3 saves, a walk, 7 strikeouts, a 3.86 ERA, a 1.29 whip. He won relief appearances. I'm not going to give it to Harlan Garcia of the Marlins, who had 5 clean relief appearances, because Liam Hendricks is the closer there. But when you're in a dogfight like we were, to get 10 relief appearances out of those guys, that's pretty fucking awesome. Finally, Lance Lynn, who really put the hammer down on me. 20 innings, a win, 2 losses. He had 3 starts this week. And he had 29 strikeouts over those 3 starts, with a 4.05 ERA, a 1.30 whip, 3 homers, and 5 walks. The 3 starts, at home against Houston, at home against Arizona, and in Houston. 11 strikeouts and 12 strikeouts respectively in the 2 starts against Houston. That's 23 strikeouts, if my math is correct, just against the Houston Astros. Absolutely incredible. Again, the guy's been really good. For me, Oscar Mercado did absolutely everything he could to keep me in this. A 407 batting average, a 467 on-base percentage, 6 runs, a double, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 3 steals, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Early in the week, I'm watching Max Muncy go off, and at the same time, I'm watching Oscar Mercado do the same for me. And I'm going, all right, just keep me in this, because I don't know if Jimmy's offense is going to sustain this. Spoiler alert, it fucking did. But Mercado was the guy who just kept pace with Muncy early on. Francisco Lindor gave me a great week. 268 average, 286 on base, 6 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. And finally, Mitch Garver, 308 average, 471 on base, 5 runs, 3 homers, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts with an error. I had 10 errors this week, by the way. That might be a record. Pitching-wise for me?
No, maybe not for a 10-day week.
Maybe not for a 10-day week. But, and actually, no, it's not even a record for this season.
I would think someone exploded for 7. I wouldn't
12.
be surprised.
12 is the record.
Had a week like that.
Yeah, 12 is the record.
Joe, you could just tip your cap to any guy from Dickerson to Jimenez to Moncada, who only had 1, or Garrett Cooper. Anyone that got you 1 dinger was enough to at least tie the category.
Mm-hmm.
So, you didn't lose the category. That was big. So, at least you had that. Like you said, Mercado's 3. It just kept you on pace to at least tie that category, which you could have lost.
Yeah. My pitchers, I'm not going to hit on them very much. Verlander was good for me. 12 innings, 2 wins, 19 strikeouts. Ty Buttrey led Jose Leclerc led my team in relief appearances. 5 relief appearances, all clean, 5 strikeouts, and 0.23 whip. And Jacob Junis, the guy I streamed, 6 innings, a win, 7 strikeouts, and 0.83 whip. Again, it was just a beatdown. My hat is off to Jimmy. let's move on because I want to put this week behind me.
Wait, but we can't just bury the hatchet.
I know.
Let's talk about where this leaves us, between you two.
Well, it drops me.
We said him. Now let's talk about you.
It drops me to 5th. I'm now 8 back of Jimmy, who takes over first place, by the way. Not to bury that lead. I'm 8 back. I've got Nick, you, Bobby, and then James Santangelo over the next 4 weeks.
No, Jason Ashby after Bobby.
No.
Right? No, you're right. You're right, James.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
wow.
If I can get 2 wins over the guys that are toward the bottom and split the records with you and Bobby, 9-11,
Oh, you
11.
You split that. That's 3 out of the next 4. That would be huge.
Yeah. Because I look at it like this. You want to try to mitigate as many big losses like this as you can. Last year, around this time, I took an 18-1 loss to Mike Haber and thought my season was over. It dropped me to 7th. I had to fight my way back in, and I ended up, with the 4 seed last year or the 5 seed? I feel like that was it. Anyway, a big loss like this late in the season is absolutely crippling. But I'd rather take it here in week 15 than week 20, week 21.
Right. Yes.
This I can still recover from. This I can still come back. And again, we've got 8 teams within 12 games of each other. And
I know.
For the most part, they're all going to play each other.
Yeah.
So in a
7 weeks left, you've had a very good season so far.
Mm-hmm.
So you put yourself in a position to take a hit right now, because now, at least the schedule can get a little bit lighter pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this before we close. Mike Leake, again, does it to you as he did it in the final in 2015 when Donato pitched a complete game shutout against you in the final.
And Mike Leake earlier this season gave me a complete game shutout to win me a week.
Wow.
Right?
I know that.
So, I watched this guy that was on my team and won me a complete game turn around and do it to me. So I just got to throw my hands up and go, you know what? It was a bad week. I got the shit kicked out of me. I'll pick up my shit and move on. I have to rebound. I have to continue. I have to get a good win here against Nick, or I'm really in trouble.
Right.
So let's bounce to James McCloskey versus Mike Sherman. Stanton Room only gets the win here, 12-8 over Kershaw for Passover. Close categories this week. James wins by a run, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Mike wins by a home run and 2 relief appearances, and they tied in wins. For James on his bench, it's 21 for 69. That's a .304 batting average. 11 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs, 4 walks, and 14 strikeouts. Couple of things that stick out. Kevin Kiermaier on, Friday of last week, so the 12th, goes 3 for 6 with 2 doubles and 3 runs on the bench. Byron Buxton was 1 for 4 in center. So he then turns around and plays Kiermaier, but he goes 0 for 4 and Conforto homers on his bench. That homer is important because he lost by 1 homer.
100%.
The 16th, Tuesday, was the real huge day, though. Hunter Renfroe goes 3 for 5 with a run. He's not really able to get in. And Conforto goes 4 for 4 with a run and an RBI. And Kiermaier goes 0 for 3 in center field. That is a 7 for 9 with 2 runs, an RBI, and a strikeout on his bench. Now, at the end of the day, James was kind of dominating this matchup at this point. It was 15-4, 14-5, somewhere in there. But to see Mike make a late comeback the way he did and make this a respectable loss of 12-8 is interesting. And
yeah, it is. There was, a pinch hit home run for Pete Alonso on Saturday. He wins the category because that guy steps up and actually does that on Saturday, or else that makes it 12-7, probably. One thing that was unfortunate, I feel like, for Mike, and maybe it turns the whole thing around, is that Ramos' game had started already, and Mike didn't get him in. So he had Darno in his catcher spot.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't starting that day. So he goes and he picks up Mike Zunino.
Oof.
He goes 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Take a look at the score in strikeouts.
He lost strikeouts by 2, guys.
Right.
There it is.
So, and then if you happen to know, the next day, Travis d'Arnaud hit a home run. I'm not exactly sure if it was a 2-run or a 3-run. If it was a 3-run bomb, let's say he holds on to d'Arnaud. All of a sudden, maybe he ties the RBI stat. So
it was actually a grand slam.
Okay, and then how about runs there as well? So like
just one
that run,
yeah,
right? That would tie that category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like just terrible luck.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was looking at this and I saw James was so far ahead late in the week, like Thursday or Friday, I thought this is it. This is Mike's season, and it's kind of fitting that a top team is going to put the hammer down and sort of put the nail in his coffin. In week 15, where he's going to lose by a triple up, and he doesn't. He comes back and makes it a respectable loss, and I'm not saying he's out of it, but he still lives on that razor's edge of like he's that close. Another loss like this or worse, and I think he's out. Like he's 24.
I don't not to his schedule coming up now is Josh and Frank.
Sure.
You would say this is a lighter part of the schedule.
He's got to get healthy
now, at least.
Yeah, he's got to get healthy coming out of the next 2 weeks. Before he hits 4 out of 5 playoff contending teams in the final 5 weeks. So, he's got to get healthy here. He is currently 6 games under 500. He is 24 games out of first place and 15 games out of the 6th spot.
Okay, so if he can get even a little bit over 500 in the next 2 weeks, let's say he goes 2 over 500 in the next 2 weeks, he controls his destiny basically throughout because he's playing teams that are in the race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think 2 over 500 gets him that much closer though. Like I think he needs to have 2 really good wins here against Frank and Josh. I'm talking like 13-6, 14-7, double up kind of wins here to get himself right.
Well,
one to get him to 500 and one to get him...
15, Joe. 15 out of a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
What's 15 out of a playoff spot? To me, that sounds like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes.
Right?
It's also jumping. Okay. It's also jumping 3 teams. That's the big thing.
A lot of them are playing each other. The other ones are going to take losses also. The way I see it, if he's 15, that's how I see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's how many he is out of a playoff spot, if I can do the math correctly, it seems like he's 15 out of a playoff spot.
Yep.
So 15 out of a playoff spot is about 3 or 4 weeks. So if he can get about 2 over 500 in the next couple of weeks, can't go under, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But if he can stay over just a little, 5 weeks left, he's playing a lot of these teams, it's definitely up for grabs.
It's possible, but he absolutely, I think we're both in agreement, has to get healthy in a hurry against these two opponents these 2 weeks. This is really where his season make or break right here. This week against Josh, next week against Frank. Moves for James this week, not a whole lot. He did finally drop Tyler Skaggs, rest in peace. He gave him through the All-Star break, and that was a classy move by James to hang on to him for that time. He does pick up Marco Gonzalez. He does make the trade, Matt Chapman for Corey Kluber. I believe we hit on this last week with Bobby. And, makes a move for a reliever. Not anything really to write home about there. For Mike on his bench, he goes 10 for 36. That's a .278 batting average. 3 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 steals, 3 walks, and 9 strikeouts. The big left on his bench player I'm going to point at is Danny Santana. Danny Santana went 2 for 5 with 2 runs, a double, a homer, an RBI, a steal, and 2 strikeouts on the 13th. Luke Voit went 0 for 4. Gleyber Torres went 0 for 4. I mean, I don't think you're starting those guys. I don't think you're starting Danny Santana over those guys every day. But Luke Voit hit 194 for the week. You know, he was injured for a period of time with that, or he didn't even miss a game when he was hit in the face. That's a man's
man.
man.
He came back right after by like 13 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Like you said, the awful 194, but holy moly, only a couple left. If he could have just made contact a couple more times, Mike wins that category.
Yeah. Herman Marquez had an awful start on the 15th, which contributed to his 4.60 ERA. Danny Santana also went 2 for 4 with a double on the bench, and Malik Smith went 0 for 4 in left field on the 16th, which was Tuesday. You know, if he could have just gotten this kid into the lineup a little bit more, and I was saying that I want to say 6 to 8 weeks back, that Danny Santana needs to be in that lineup, and he has been. You know, he hit 400 for him this week with 3 homers, so you know, it's interesting to see where he plays him and when he doesn't, and the kid's been really good for him. As far as roster moves, you know, he picked up Santana on the 8th, so I you know, it's obvious he got him into the lineup when he could. You were talking about picking up Travis d'Arnaud and then dropping him for Mike Zunino, and then he dropped Zunino for Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi was not good either. 5 innings and a 12.60 ERA against LA, which I think was like the day after the Mike Leake no or almost perfect game. So I can see what he's trying to do there.
This was a move to protect innings.
Sure.
And wins.
Yeah, makes sense.
Strikeouts.
Yeah, he wins strikeouts by 5.
Mike wins. You know, it's understand whether it's bad or good. Mm-hmm. The tension was there because he really felt like he had nothing else to lose.
Right.
You know.
Right. He had already punted losses. You know, he was trying for a win there. His ERA and WHIP were not going to compete against James's, which were very good.
No.
No. Key players this week for James, who won the week. You know, I said this was coming, and I said that if he were to ever get Jose Ramirez right, the guy could win him some weeks, and I think I'm vindicated in this week. Jose Ramirez had 341, no walks, same on base percentage, 7 runs, 5 doubles, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, 2 steals, 2 strikeouts, and an error. The guy has been red hot lately, and his batting average has come up a full 30 points from where it was, I'd say, a month ago. He's still got 20 steals and 10 homers. Look, the rest of the way, if you get another 7 or 8 homers and another 10 steals out of the guy, that's still a 15-30 season. And I think you'll take that.
Solid.
Yeah.
It's not what you're expecting, though, Joe.
It's not what you paid for in a first rounder. No. But to buy low on him when he did, in the way he did, and to get the return that he's gotten, this could be a league winner for James. And
maybe.
It's well worth, when you pair it with Aaron Judge, who hit 394 with a 535 on base percentage this week, 7 runs, a double, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 10 walks, 13 strikeouts, and Cody Bellinger, 290 average, 439 on base, 9 runs, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 9 walks, and 9 strikeouts. You put those 3 guys together with, Gallo and some of the other nice pieces he has around it, that's a really scary team. It's a really scary team.
Let's put a bow on it that right now, on that trade with you and Stanton, it looks terrific. Robles, another 2 saves. Mm-hmm. And James wins that category 5-3.
Yep.
This guy has won him saves. Him and Shane Green have helped win him saves a couple of these last few weeks.
Yep.
Stanton is just a free closers for Stanton who hasn't done anything.
Who's done nothing for me.
Tip your cap there.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I don't know if I ever mentioned this, the original offer that he gave me was for Judge, and I changed it to Stanton. Okay. All right. pitching wise for James, you mentioned Hansel Robles. Hansel Robles gave him 2 saves over 3 relief appearances, clean innings, 4 strikeouts, a 1 whip. He did not get a save from Shane Green this week. It was actually Taylor Rogers that gave him 2 more. But I'm not going to highlight him. I am going to point to Brad Keller. James was talking about dropping Brad Keller coming into this long week. And he says, you know what? I'm just going to hang on to him for one more week and see how he does. Well, all he did was pitch 14 1/3 with 2 wins, 14 strikeouts, a 1.88 ERA, and a 1.05 WHIP. James is hanging on to Brad Keller for a while.
Yeah.
And
the best pitcher on the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and Hyun-Jin Ryu, 14 innings, a win, 13 strikeouts, a 1.93 ERA, a 1.14 WHIP. The guy's ERA is now at an absolutely dreadful 1.76 on the season. He's such garbage.
If not for Max Scherzer, best pitcher in the entire world.
Absolutely. This season, agreed. For Mike, he finally gets a good week out of Manny Machado. I know I've been riding Manny Machado's ass for a few weeks here about how bad he's been, and $300 million just buys you this kind of crap. 282 average, 317 on base, 6 runs, a double, 5 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and an error. That's more what you expect out of your second round pick. When you pair that with Ronald Acuna, 318 average, 388 on base, 10 runs, a double, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 8 steals, 5 walks, and 12 strikeouts. 8 steals. I had to look this up because he had 15 stolen bases for the season. For the week. That set the record for this season at 15.
Right, a 10-day week, though.
A 10-day week.
Not a surprise, If you extrapolate that, from 7,
Yeah.
and that's what's...
It's probably still 10 or 11 over a 7-day week.
Right.
The single week all-time record was set in 2013 on a 7-day week. You have any idea who it was?
Let me think. Nah, I have no idea.
It was a gentleman by the name of Alexander, the Winning Guys.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow. What year was that?
2000. Hang on. I just had it, and I.
If it's 2010, that's his championship year.
No, 2013. 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, 2013. He made the playoffs and made the Final Four and lost to Kuroda with Lime, who is I believe Mike Haber.
Mike Haber.
I believe it was Mike Haber.
Mike Haber.
Okay. Anyway, that was a nice
little.
little.
Pull that up so quickly. Pull up that statistic so quickly.
What the record or?
Yeah, the record.
So there's a thing in the main page. If you go to League and you hold it over League, toward the bottom is something called Record Book, and you pull open Record Book, and it will show you the records for this league going as far back as what's the longest standing record at this point?
I guess maybe does it go back as far as 2005?
No, they only started keeping this thing. I want to stay in 2011. Oh, 2010. They say right here, the following seasons of your league history are currently not included. 2010. Prior to the 2011 season, standard baseball leagues did not store recorded data. So, 2011 on are where these records are held.
Okay.
So it's completely possible that somebody, set something. Yeah, it's completely realistic that somebody set something way back in 08 or 07. They're just not holding on to it. Going back to this matchup, Malik Smith did give Mike Sherman a good week as well. 238 average, 333 on base, 2 runs, a double, 2 triples. That's where it's key because he won the triples 2-0. He also gave him 4 steals, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Pitching wise, Yusmeiro Petit led his team in relief appearances. He won that category by 2. Gave him 5 relief appearances. Diego Castillo gave him 4. They were, Petit wasn't all that good. They were mostly one-out appearances because he only pitched 2 2/3. But, when you get 9 relief appearances from 2 guys, you'll take that every chance you get. Clayton,
Oh my God, yeah. And when you win the category by 2, count those.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree.
Clayton Kershaw gave him 12 innings, a win, 17 strikeouts, an 0.75 ERA and WHIP. The starts came in Philly in the win and in at home against Miami in the no decision. And finally, Mike Clevinger, who had sat on his DL for quite a while, comes back, gives him 11 innings, a win, 18 strikeouts, a 1.64 ERA, and a 1.18 WHIP. You know, for a team that lost ERA by over a run and a half, he had some really good starts there. You know, you got to point to a guy like Sandy Alcantara, who had a bad start, Dinelson Lamet, who had a bad start, and Herman Marquez absolutely blew up his ERA what was it? The 15th. So it was Monday. By the time Monday came around, his ERA was like in the teens, and he had to fight down since then.
Right, but at that point, it's Monday, and he's got 5 days left to play. Plenty of time to just go for it at that point. That's why he was able to win innings, strikeouts, at least tie wins. So he did what he had to, even though, and like you said, you treaded water with that. You know, at that point, you know, you have some good starts here, you have some good starts there, but at least if the good starts are getting you some extra strikeouts, it's getting you just a little bit closer, and so you finally can grab that category by Sunday.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the comeback of the week. It's going to be Mike Haber, You're Done with Dinner. I like that new name. Against an Irvin return Barry Nisman. Mike gets the win here 12-8, and if we're honest with ourselves, Benny, this might be one of the most surprising comebacks in the history of the league. You know, with how far down Mike was going into, you know, Friday, to see it, and even going into Sunday, to see it flip this big has to be heartbreaking for Uncle Barry, who's playing spoiler, and huge for Mike Haber's confidence going forward.
Yeah.
Close categories this week. Mike won by a save, a relief appearance, and .05 WHIP. Barry won by a triple, a home run, a loss, a complete game, and 2 home runs given up by a pitcher. They tied in wins. On Mike's bench, he went 30.
One relief appearance.
One relief appearance. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll find it. In fact, I may have just found it. Anyway, Mike goes 32 for 126. Do you think that's a good batting average or a bad batting average, Benji?
Pretty solid.
It's a 254 batting average. I joke about that because, you know, on a 10-day week like this, I can sort of gauge where a good or bad batting average is already when I find out how many hits have been left on a 7-day week. You know, most guys will leave anywhere between 8 and 12 hits on their bench on a given week over 7 days. Less than that, great week. More than that, bad week. But on a fucking 12 or 13-day week like we just had, I had no idea what a 32 for 126 was. I'm like, that sounds bad. It's 254. It's not all that terrible. What is terrible, though, is what I'm about to read you. He left 25 runs on his bench. He left 5 doubles on his bench. He left a triple.
How many runs?
25.
No.
Yeah. 25 runs on his bench. 5 doubles, a triple, 8 homers, 25 RBIs, 2 steals, 8 walks, 32 strikeouts, and 3 errors.
How is it 25? How is it 25 runs? 25 RBIs, okay, maybe in a 10-day week because you can get more than 1 RBI with 1 swing often, but 25 runs? How does that go on the bench? I don't understand.
So 2 on the 12th, 5 on the 13th, 2 on the 15th, 4 on the 16th, 1 on the 17th, 5 on the 18th, 3 on the 19th, 2 on the 20th, and 1 on the 21st. Every day, multiple runs left on the bench. And he still won by 4. Like,
yeah, and he still won RBIs by 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Just insane.
A couple. Yeah.
You know, Suarez hit a homer.
How many home runs did you say he had on the bench?
8. That kills him. That's a killer. Whether it's Suarez on the 12th with Turner going 0 for 4, whether it's Chavis again going 1 for 3 with a homer and Brasso being 0 for 4 at second base.
Wow.
Suarez again on the 16th going yard and Turner 0 for 4. Jock Peterson 1 for 3 with Hicks 0 for 4. Justin Turner didn't start.
Plenty of opportunities.
There was so many opportunities to get this thing in here. You know, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't in the line. Paul DeYoung homer.
Yeah.
You know, on Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday the 20th. Paul DeYoung homers. And Gregorius, you know, they were there.
And still.
They were there. And, you know, he still ends up winning and turning this thing around.
Yeah.
Moves for him. Francisco Liriano, the pickup on the 15th. You know, the relief appearances is where it is, where he turns that around. He got 6 from Will Smith, 6 from Emilio Pagan, 4 from Gallegos, 4 from Canely. That's 20 right there. But I think it's Noe Ramirez is the one that is surprising most. He got him in on the 21st. It was nothing special. It was an inning, a walk, a strikeout, and a 2-whip. But on the 21st was Sunday. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference right there. It was nothing special, but he got it in. And he won the week with it.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
The way that he flipped some of these pitching categories in the last couple of days is just mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Haber said this was one of the most insane matchups he's ever experienced.
Oh, I got a text message from him. Yeah, I got a text message from him either Monday or Tuesday, and he goes, "Can Xander Bogaerts please stop hitting? He's absolutely tearing me apart."
Right.
You know, Xander was going off, and he had a great week. You know, by the way, Noe Ramirez, Mike picked him up on Sunday, specifically for that relief appearance, and won it. Like, there it is.
You probably have all the starts, all the pickups in front.
Yes.
But I'm just, Sunday is 14 innings, 2 wins, 23 strikeouts over the 6 walks. Okay, a .64 ERA, a 1.07. Where do you come off throwing 14 innings and getting a .64?
Yeah, only giving up 1 earned run
that he threw out
with some dudes with something called a Rogelio Armenteros. What is a Rogelio Armenteros? That sounds like a meal.
A condition, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. But
sounds serious.
The 4 relief appearances to Barry's 3 when they were tied, you know, that does everything. You know, the whip of 107 to Barry's 250. You know, there's your week, man. There's a former champion making a huge comeback. Coming into Sunday, guys. Mike was down 14. Mike was down 14-7, and on Sunday flipped it to a 12-8 win. If you're down 14-7 going into Sunday, you hope you can make it respectable, make it 9-12, flip 2 categories. Would Mike flip 5?
Yeah. The way he did it, it's just the way that he did it.
Yeah.
He was able to flip all these. He was losing going into Saturday. He was down 22 walks given up to 28 walks given up.
Mm-hmm.
That was going into Saturday. What happened?
Given up?
Yeah, there was just another 10 walks after that by Uncle Barry.
Yeah.
Well, how many walks after that point?
Yeah.
It was as much. It was 1. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong matchup here.
Yeah, if it was 22-28. Mike threw a lot of pitchers to lower his ERA, his WHIP, get his relief appearances up, and get his innings up. But he did do that at the sacrifice of walks and home runs given up, because he did lose walks given up by 9.
Right. There was something else. Hold on. Yeah. No, ERA got flipped as well.
Absolutely.
Because going in, it was 2.72 to 2.96 in ERA.
And Barry on Sunday has Andrew Kittredge give him a bad start. Brandon Woodruff throws 3 innings and gives up 4 earned. Adam Simber gives up an inning in his relief appearance, and it could have been worse. Barry benched Daniel Mengden against Minnesota, who was bad.
That was smart.
Yeah.
That was smart, and yet still, I mean, to lose whip as close and as close as ERA was. ERA was right there.
Mm-hmm.
And going into Saturday, 1.13 to 1.19. Barry had the lead.
Yeah.
So it had that flip. Just because, I mean, at that point, Mike only moved his whip up just one, from 1.19 to 1.20.
Right.
Throughout 2 days. And picked up, another 22 innings? On
It
Saturday?
was 14 on Sunday, and it was 22 and 23 innings.
On Saturday?
No, overall over the 2 days. 8 2/3 and 8 2/3 and 14. So yeah, about 22 innings.
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And Saturday wasn't good. But,
Saturday wasn't good, but he only had
Emilio Pagan.
Yeah, Emilio Pagan gave him an earned run over 2/3 of an inning and a homer. Mike Soroka wasn't good, 6 innings and looks like 4 earned. But it didn't kill him. It wasn't a Herman Marquez start. It wasn't that exploded start that you just hate to see. Let's jump to Barry's team. 17 for 46. Is that a good or a bad batting average? Benji?
Yeah.
Is 17 for 46 a good batting average?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a 370 batting average. 10 runs,
Really?
10 runs, 8 doubles, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. The 8 doubles probably hurts because he lost it by 4. So even if he gets half of them.
Wow.
And the big one was Leury Garcia on Friday the 19th. He went 4 for 5 with 3 runs, 3 doubles, and 2 RBIs on the bench, and Starling Marte goes 0 for 4 in center field. Starling Marte's been pretty cold lately.
You're not gonna tell Barry that Starling Marte.
No.
It's not gonna happen.
No.
I see what you're saying. He's just not gonna do that, and I can understand why.
Well, how about he starts him for Phillip Ervin? I know he has this ridiculous man crush on Phillip Ervin. Ervin went 1 for 5 with a strikeout. With a guy like Leury Garcia, he hits at the top of that White Sox lineup, and every once in a while, that White Sox lineup is gonna fucking hit. I know. I own 3 of them. That offense hits. And on a day where he hit 194 with a 184 on base and 8 strikeouts, you really gotta find a way to get that guy in.
Yeah.
And the 3 doubles, that makes it 17-16, and you just find one of the other ones that, he missed out on. Moves this week, he picked up Albert Pujols, who's been hot lately. Flipped a catcher or 2 somewhere along the way, but was really chasing those relief appearances coming down to the end. Did stream Chase Anderson on Sunday. That did not work out for him, obviously. I don't know, he picked up Chase Anderson, but he didn't start. I wonder why. Probably planning for today that Chase Anderson is starting today against Cincinnati. I kind of thought he would be the guy that he would chase relief appearances, considering how close it was. Maybe that's something to look back on and go, maybe I should have picked up somebody there rather than... In any event, key players this week. For Mike, who won the week, it's going to be Edwin Encarnacion, 265 average, 342 on base, 6 runs, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 14 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Encarnacion was incredibly cold after coming over to the Bronx. Like, he would hit a home run, and everybody would look at it and be like, oh my god, that's such a big home run. But that was all he was doing, and it was to the point where he was hitting, like, almost at the Mendoza line. He's picked it up recently, which is nice. You know, it's good to see a week like this for Mike, who's going to rely on a guy like this, because I think that's pretty much a starting first baseman every day. You know, he ended up dropping Michael Chavis, who could have seen the lineup. You know, Jock Peterson all of a sudden has first base eligibility as a nice backup. But I think you're going to live and die with Edwin Encarnacion here.
That was his draft pick. I would think so.
Mookie Betts had a good week. 390 average, 447 on base, 11 runs, 4 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 2 steals, and 5 walks with 7 strikeouts. And finally, Yordan Alvarez, who hit about the longest home run I've ever seen in Minute Maid Park. That thing was like almost 500 feet. And it was
this guy. Was he a big prospect?
Yes. He was.
Wow.
Here's the thing. They're so fucking deep. They're the Astros. They're so fucking good. They've got a kid, Kyle Tucker, who is their top outfield prospect.
Right, that guy I know.
And this guy was behind him. But this guy played his way to a starting role on this team with his play in AAA.
Yeah.
He hit like 25 homers in the first half in AAA. And they're like, we have to find a way to get his bat into the lineup. We have to find a way to get his bat into the lineup. And with all of the injuries that came along, they started playing him at first base a little bit, seeing if they... Right now, they've got him in left. And that's kind of where he's going to live. I think Kyle Tucker has now played himself out of the future of Houston, and they're going to probably package him for a pitcher here at this deadline. Alvarez...
Wow. Could you imagine if they're the ones that land Bumgarner?
Wow. I think I heard somewhere that Bumgarner and, like, Garrett Cole don't get along. And I don't think that's feasible.
No, it's Garrett Cole and someone else.
Is it?
I can't remember. Yeah, it's Garrett Cole and someone else. Oh, it's Trevor Bauer.
Oh, okay. All right. Any event, Yordan Alvarez, 297 average, 381 on base, 5 runs, a double, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 4 walks, 14 strikeouts. He does not lead the team in strikeouts. That belongs to James McCann. But Alvarez is going to strike out a lot. He's a rookie. You just sort of expect that. But you're going to live with the...
Right, but it seems that when he didn't strike out, he got a hit. I mean, that is
absolutely
97.
Yeah, I mean, and he just kept hitting, like, 297, 381 on base. Like, you're going to take that every day. Pitching-wise for Mike,
his
again...
BABIP for this week, you would say, is probably pretty good.
I would imagine so.
Pretty great.
I would imagine so, yes. If you take out... Well, BABIP actually does also take out home runs, because those aren't balls in play. Balls in play are considered balls that are in the field of play. A home run is not in the field.
That skews the stat. I feel like the stat would be better if it included.
Sure, but it also takes out walks and home runs from your on-base percentage.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense to me. Or sacrifice flies, things like
that.
Right.
It takes.
But batting, it does. But sac flies doesn't include in batting average.
It literally that literally just calculates. That literally just calculates when you put the bat on the ball, and it is in fair territory, and doesn't go over the wall. How often are you getting on base? How often are you getting a hit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes out errors. It takes
they should include home runs in the stat, is all I'm saying.
I think there's a stat that does that. I think it
is a ball in play.
I think it's weighted BABIP, where they add home runs to that. You know, and then that obviously goes a bit higher, but yeah. Any event, pitchers for Mike this week: Will Smith. Absolutely stellar again. 6 relief appearances, 6 innings, 2 wins, a save, 10 strikeouts. His ERA was 6, but you kind of live with that when you've got a reliever. It was 4 earned runs. He did give up 2 homers and walked 3 guys. Jack Flaherty, who's been kind of garbage for the first half of the season, is suddenly starting to put it together. 11 1/3, 15 strikeouts, an 0.79 ERA, a 1.24 WHIP. The starts were against Pittsburgh at home and in Cincinnati. The start in Cincinnati only went 4 1/3. I wonder what happened there, whether he got ejected or left with an what happened? I don't know. I don't know why they pulled him after 4 1/3. It was 86 pitches. I think he could have gone 5 there. Finally, Madison Bumgarner. 14 innings, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 earned run. That's an 0.64 ERA and a 1 whip. This guy is going to land the Giants a huge package. I said package. And, he threw 9 innings of 1-run ball against the Mets in a no decision because we went to extras. What? I was watching that game and I thought to myself, he's coming out for the 10th. You just sort of expected Mad Bum to come out for the 10th in that, didn't you, Benny?
Yeah, I sure did.
For Barry?
Oh, I got more to add.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, the 4 and the 3rd, to me, I thought that might have been just because there might have been some runners on base.
Okay.
And just it was time to get out of there.
Yeah, I wasn't watching the game, so I don't have the answer, right? I was looking to see if it was rain shortened or if he was injured or if, high pitch count. Okay. For Uncle Barry, Ryan Braun gave him a great week, and this is a guy he picked up off the waiver wire. Braun hit .308 with a .367 on base, 6 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 2 steals, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Xander Bogaerts, like Mike texted me, just had himself a week. .439 average, .489 on base, 8 runs, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts, and an error. And Yuli Gurriel backed him up. .348 average, .375 on base, 8 runs, 4 doubles, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 2 errors. Offensively, it's a week that will stand up against just about anybody. These guys hit 20 and 21 homers apiece. Here I am complaining that I hit 18 homers and it should compete. These guys would have crushed me.
Right.
Pitching-wise for Barry, Miles Mikolas started the long week off right with a complete game shutout. 3 strikeouts. The start was at home against Pittsburgh. Daniel Mengden gave him a good start. 7 innings, 3 strikeouts, 1 earned run on a home run, and an 0.57 whip. That start was at home against Seattle, and he did bench him in Minnesota in the second start of the week on Sunday, so that was a smart move. Finally, Adam Simber led the way with 6 relief appearances, 5 2/3, a win, 3 strikeouts, a 1.59 ERA, a 1.24 whip. Anything else, or?
Yeah, I guess the wins, it helps at least tie that category, but just a failed spoiled attempt and so close.
It was so close to...
A 14-7 lead going into Saturday.
Yeah.
And all the pitching that Mike did, and the spoiling attempt failed. That's it.
Yeah. Mike would have...
It's such a good attempt when you have a 3.36 ERA, a 1.25 whip. Both of those categories lost. He wins with the 2.73, but just 54 RBIs wasn't enough. 58 runs wasn't enough. And like you said before, this would have been, certainly would have been you. It would have been Mike Sherman.
Yep.
It would have been, as well. Let me think. Would have been,
would it have beaten James Santangelo?
Yeah, would have been James. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a solid week, and credit to Mike Haber. A fantastic comeback on a Sunday. This is why this guy is a perpetual, playoff contending manager. If he loses there 14-7 rather than winning 12-9, I think he falls 6th or 7th. He's probably right in there with me, Bobby, and Jason right now.
Yeah, and Chris Levy, absolutely.
Rather than having a 5-game cushion over, the 7th place guy.
No, this is an unbelievable win against the bottom of the road team, but still, because of the way it was won, because in a 7-day matchup he would have been done, in an 8-day matchup he would have been fried, but it wasn't.
Nope.
It was a 10-day matchup. You had to play for 10 days. Even Barry had the lead after 9 days, but it just didn't matter.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's jump over to witness protection. Jason Ashby taking down a win over Korean barbecue Frank Bucco 10-8. Close categories this week for them. Jason didn't win anything close, but Frank won by a run and a loss. and they tied in wins, home runs given up by a pitcher, and relief appearances. I don't know about you, but I had a lot of talk with Frank leading up to this past weekend, and he was doing well, was really competitive with Jason up until the weekend, where it started to extend out. Jason opened up a 14-6 lead on about Thursday, and you sort of thought, okay, this is where a playoff contending team is going to put down a team trying to spoil, and that's not what happened. Frank sort of held his own toward the weekend.
100%. An unbelievable job. Just to tread water and grab a couple of stats here. We'll talk later about. I believe it was on Saturday. A Woodruff start. Is that the guy's name on? Is it Woodruff? Who's the guy on Frank's team? On Pittsburgh.
Joe Musgrove.
I get those two confused in Woodruff because they used to play together. But that guy on Saturday, there was such a big risk because loss was close, ERA was close, home runs was tied at the time, and he was down by 1 win, and he was up by 1 loss. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, if this goes in the other direction and Philly kills Pittsburgh, this is
going to be bad.
End up working out.
Yep.
Instead, what he expected to happen, what he planned on happening, was that Musgrove pitches a great game. He does. He ends up winning. He ends up tying the category in wins because of that win, and holds the ERA down. He doesn't give up a home run. He ends up tying that category as well. So I give him a lot of credit because, I said in my matchup, I was a lot more conservative. I was benching a lot of guys. He went out for it. He went for it, and it worked.
Sure. For Jason on his bench this week, he went 20 for 80. That's as 250 a batting average as you could possibly get. Right? No, that's 200 batting average. My apologies. No, that's 250. I'm retarded.
We're all doing it today.
Yeah. 12 runs, 7 doubles, a homer, 7 RBIs, 10 walks, 23 strikeouts, and 6 errors. The 6 errors is huge to have on the bench because he won that category by 5. So if he has all those errors in his lineup, it's devastating. The 10 walks kind of hurts because he lost that by 5. The 7 doubles don't matter. The home run doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, he offensively he did a really good job, maintaining a lot of these categories. It sucks to see him get sniped by 1 in the runs category,
right?
Especially with a run.
I tip my cap to Frank. As much as that's hard. What was the bench totals here to see if there was an opportunity for Jason? Because I just noticed a lot of just work being done for Frank to hold that category.
It was 12 runs on Jason's bench and 1 on Sunday. Wow. Yeah, 1 on Sunday from Justin Upton. And 2 on Saturday on his bench from Kike Hernandez and Justin Upton. Justin Upton should have been the play this weekend, and it just wasn't for him. As far as moves are concerned, he streamed a lot of starters, which I don't blame him for. Wade LeBlanc, Julie Chassin, Eric Fetty, Josh James. These are all guys that he was going for to try to, get his innings up, get those wins up, get his strikeouts up, and he won one of those 3 categories, tied another one. So going 1-1-1 is about as good as you can ask for without, overblowing everything and, ruining your ratios, which, when he pitches to a 486 and a 141 whip, you look at it and go, well, maybe you could have, pushed a little harder in innings and try to get wins. He didn't. Frank capitalized on that, and here we are. For Frank, it's 17 for 53 on the bench. That's a 321 batting average. 16 runs, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 7 walks, 11 strikeouts, and an error. I could sit here and I could point to a lot of things. The one thing I'll point to is, so many innings on his bench that didn't hurt him being there. On the 17th, which was Wednesday, he left Oh, no, he pitched to that was it. On the 17th, he pitched 11 and 2/3 innings when he was ahead in ERA, WHIP, and innings. And he pitched to a 12.34 ERA with 4 homers, 7 walks, a 3 WHIP, 4 relief appearances. It's like every guy who got in the game, with the exception of Kyle Ryan, gave up multiple runs.
Yeah.
You know, John Gray was a bad start. Ponce de Leon was a bad start. Suero, who he picked up that day for a relief appearance, came into the game, got the loss to an 81 ERA and a 12 WHIP. You know,
he ends up winning that category.
He does.
I mean, the Kyle
I was
Ryan
getting to that.
pickup at the end. That's what he used. He used Kyle Ryan as his last move.
Yes.
And he ends up tying that relief appearance. So even though I looked at Jason's team, 6 relief appearances on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, it's just like, oh my God, where do you come off having 6 relief appearances one day?
Yeah, and Frank had 5.
He's just trying to win that category, and all he does is tie the category with how many he threw, 4 or 5 or whatever
5.
he did on Sunday. He did everything he could. I mean, the other pickup on Tomlin, that kind of worked out with some relief appearances. So he needed them all to tie.
Absolutely. Tomlin got him 1 relief appearance, which is exactly what he needed. You know, I think he got it on Sunday, which was, you know, that ties the category.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
could have been better.
Absolutely.
Maybe earlier in the week could have strived for it. I know on Saturday Jason sat his whole pitching staff, so there was definitely an opportunity to at least try to maybe use somebody else.
The other thing that frustrated me, just looking objectively and knowing what Frank, as a manager, was at that point apparently looking for as in a trade, was a first baseman. And at that time, he had Jesus Aguilar on his team, and then dropped Jesus Aguilar after 1 for 4, but kept an injured reliever on his roster until somebody pointed it out to him and he dropped him.
All right.
You know.
By the way, on I'm seeing. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Aguilar went 0 for 4 with a strikeout on the 15th. Yeah, or he went 0 for 4. But you know, he went 1 for 2 the next day. He has an RBI. You know, he doesn't play every day. He's having a very bad season. But Frank said that he was looking to get a middle-of-the-road first baseman. And look, if you buy in on Jesus Aguilar and give him 2 weeks and maybe he plays, great. You've got your middle-of-the-road first baseman for nothing. Instead, he drops him. He wastes a move picking up Josh Taylor to replace Austin Bryce, who blew out his forearm and isn't going to be back for a long time. But he kept him on the roster. It just boggles my mind sometimes. And with that, is now the time we transfer over to the trade, or do we move that toward the end?
No, I'll just say one mistake that I made before we do it.
Sure.
Is that on Saturday, Jason didn't completely bench his pitching staff. He did play Kirby Yates as well, so he was going for it there, but he didn't come in.
Yeah, and if you're going to start somebody, it's Kirby Yates, who has a fucking 105 ERA. Like, yeah.
Right. I mean, Quintana, if he plays Quintana, he gets the win, and the win would have been big.
Yeah.
But he also gave up 3 home runs.
Yeah.
So
that's
a wash.
Yeah, that's a wash. The Yarbrough start was really good, though. I don't think it makes much of a change, though.
No, it doesn't end up making
no
a
decision.
difference.
Yeah. Let's do key players, and then we'll get to this. We'll get to what happened yesterday.
Yeah, this is going to be a 1 hour. We could talk an hour because we got Jason making a trade and we got Frank making a trade.
Yeah, because we've got 2 different trades involved in this matchup. For Jason this week, Whit Merrifield kind of led the way for his team. He went 333 with a 404 on base, 8 runs, 3 doubles, 2 triples, a homer, 7 RBIs, 2 steals, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Victor Robles, 286 average, 306 on base, 5 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs, 3 steals, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. And finally, Anthony Rendon. I say it every week, most underrated guy in baseball. 417 average, 500 on base, 5 runs, 5 doubles, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Pitching-wise for Jason, Carlos Martinez, 6 relief appearances, 5 saves, 5 2/3 innings, 5 walks, 7 strikeouts, a 7.94 ERA, a 2.12 WHIP. That's bad. It's very bad. But the 5 saves and 6 relief appearances, that won him the saves category and, kept him right there with Frank for the relief appearances category. Yu Darvish has been fantastic for him. 12 innings, a win, 15 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 0.42 WHIP. The starts were in both at home against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, 6 innings apiece, 8 and 7 strikeouts apiece, and only 1 walk over that period. Finally, Brendan McKay, 8 1/3, a loss, but 12 strikeouts. I wasn't really looking at his ERA and WHIP because he did lose those categories, but because he was able to take down strikeouts and, walks, I was looking for guys who kept their walks down and strikeouts up. McKay, 8 1/3, no walks, 12 strikeouts. Huge for him.
Solid. Incredible.
Yep. For Frank, it's Chris Bryant, 290 average, 436 on base, 10 runs, a double, 3 homers, 3 RBIs, 8 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Austin Meadows, 323 average, 382 on base, 4 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 4 RBIs, a steal, 3 walks, and 11 strikeouts. And finally, Hunter Dozier, 323 average, 382 on base, 8 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 3 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Pitching-wise, Marcus Stroman, 13 innings, a win, a loss, 12 strikeouts, a 2.08 ERA, a 1.15 WHIP, 2 walks, and he's gonna get for the Blue Jays a package not as big as the Bumgarner package, but it's gonna be a good one. They're gonna get a good haul for him.
Yeah, he's had a good season. He's to me one of those guys that 1 year he's good, 1 year he's bad.
Yes.
I don't know what you're getting with this guy.
He's a ground ball pitcher. I think a place like Yankee Stadium would be terrible for him. He does give up home runs at an interesting rate. Let me pull up all of his stats here. He's only given up 10 homers this year in 117 innings. Yankee Stadium might be the answer for him.
No, he's having a good season in a hitter's ballpark in the American League East. Mm-hmm. Well, he's having a good year. I'm just saying, for me, he's a guy that every season you're just not sure what you're getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is his best season.
Yes, agreed. Joe Musgrove was good for him as well. You mentioned it, 6 innings, the win, 8 strikeouts, and only 2 walks. And finally, John Gray. Now, John Gray had a really bad start on the 17th. But on the 12th, the very beginning of this week, 7 innings, 1 home run, 6 strikeouts, a 2.57 ERA, and 0.57 WHIP. That's really where that area of the schedule is where Frank was really able to start honing in on what he needed to do going forward to keep this close and perhaps even spoil this week for Jason. It doesn't work out. He doesn't get the win, but keeping this close is still very, very nice for Frank to do and keep things, interesting at the top of the standings with Jason just outside right now in 7th place. Let's talk about the 2 trades that went down in this matchup.
Sounds good.
The first trade that we'll highlight is the one for
that one will only take about 5 minutes.
Sure. It's the 1-for-1 Raisel Iglesias for Jorge Polanco. Both of us know both of those players very well. Let me get your thoughts, and I'll chime in after your time.
No, to me, I just thought it was a situation where Jason needed a shortstop. He wanted to move on Iglesias because he felt that now that Lorenzen is somewhat getting those jobs, it just seems to me that that's for anybody. So if you're going to go with a closer by committee, it's just not a locked-up position for Jason. He felt like he could get the most value for it. Whereas I think Andy, he had that to shed. He could shed a shortstop, and then there's the trade.
I find it interesting in my eyes that a guy that he traded Trey Turner for, he turns around and trades back for a shortstop.
Right.
When he already traded for Willy Adames, he's got Lourdes Gurriel, he's got Kike Hernandez. You know, Jorge Polanco has been a great player this year. He has cooled off mightily since I traded him away. You know, he was hitting 330 in June. He's down to 305. That's still really serviceable, don't get me wrong. But he's not chasing a batting title anymore. He's just a good 300 hitter. Given all of the small little moves that Jason has made this season, whether it's Hector Neris or Will Harris or now Jorge Polanco, Ryan McMahon, Willy Adames, he's sort of nickeled and dimed his way to a lot of middle infield guys that all sort of either do the same thing or will cancel each other out in a lot of ways. And
maybe.
And what I found interesting is like, okay, yeah, he probably wants to move off of Iglesias because he believes Lorenzen might get the job going forward. But even so, like, he's put together a really nice bullpen between Neris and Givens and Yates and Iglesias, and I just don't know that Polanco's the piece that puts him over the top.
No, I think. Listen. It might be, I think what you're hinting at is that it might be too early to give up on Iglesias because he can still get saves. And, Joe, I don't think you're completely wrong about that at all. I mean, now, in week 13, Jason plays James, right? I'm pretty sure by then, I'd have to look. Hold on. Give me a second. My point is that Jason won in saves. In this matchup, 3-2. Right.
Yes.
And yeah, in this case, Shane Green got 1 save, Hansel Robles got 0, and James loses the category, 3-2. The following week, Jason got 7 saves against Josh. So Iglesias has helped. Like, Iglesias is part of what has helped Jason through this time, but maybe he feels like he's gotten all he could get out of Iglesias now, and it's time to get a premier guy that's been hitting his socks off. And the first, it cooled down a little bit from the beginning, but at one point he was leading the American League in hitting in Polanco.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand the trade completely from both sides. If you're asking me who gets more value at this point, I would say it's Jason, and I still would say so, but.
I don't know. I think Andy had an interesting logjam in making that trade, the Verlander trade with me, where he got Polanco. You know, at the time, he had Alberto Mondesi playing second. Corey Seager had just hit the DL with that hamstring injury, so he needed a shortstop. Well, now
that Nelson Cruz thing has not really worked. It's just that's stuck there in utility.
Yes,
I think that's killed him to an extent.
It absolutely has.
It's made him really not flexible.
And in that same vein, you know, he moves off of Polanco, gets a closer to pair with Edwin Diaz. He puts Amir Garrett in front of Iglesias. You know, he's got Chris Martin. Is that guy closing? No, that guy's not closing.
No, but he's been good, and we've mentioned his name quite a few times on the show as having like 3 clean relief appearances and helping a bullpen.
Yeah.
So it definitely strengthens the bullpen a lot.
Sure.
I don't disagree.
Sure, and at some point he's going to get Hunter Strickland back too. Might be the closer in Seattle. So maybe. But what I found was he's kind of he was absolutely log jammed at shortstop with Polanco, Seager, and Adalberto Mondesi, with, you know, guys like Eric Sogard, and, you know, now Marwin Gonzalez steps in, and now he's picked up Brandon Crawford probably just for today, but he kind of unclogs his middle infield there. When Mondesi gets healthy, I'm sure he goes right back to second base, and he's running an infield of Seager, Devers, and Mondesi out every day. And it really takes away that issue that you talked about being flexible. You know, granted, this isn't a team competing. You know, this is a team looking to play spoiler. And yeah, he trades from a spot.
And listen, I spoke to this guy, and he said he's not giving up on it.
No,
I mean, you and I both know the math does not favor him whatsoever. But I give him credit to have the attitude. I'm ready to beat every team, please, by all means. Everybody except me onto the final week 22.
Yeah. Do I play him at all? I do not. Go ahead and beat everybody. No. Andy, beat everybody, whoop their ass, and fucking come play in the playoffs. Whoop their ass. He's got Mike Haber, he's got James McCloskey, Josh, Frank, Jimmy Dunlap, Nick, and you in the final week. Win every one of those matchups 20-1 and come play in the playoffs.
4 out of 7.
Yeah. Come play in the playoffs. But again, he trades from a spot of strength and adds a piece, I think, that strengthens his team more than having that duo of Polanco and Seager that he can't play both because he has to play Nelson Cruz. So for me, I think he gets the more value.
Interesting.
The other trade that we need to talk about is the vetoed one and then the approved one between Josh and Frank.
Can you start?
I'd love to.
Good, thank you.
1 month ago, on June the 19th, there was a vetoed trade between Frank and Nick. I'm going to read off the players in that trade, and we'll see what the differences are between that vetoed trade and this vetoed trade. Ready? Here we go. On June the 19th, Frank was set to give JD Martinez, Austin Riley, Steven Matz, and Julio Teheran for Marcus Stroman and Shane Bieber. It was a 4-for-2. He was giving up a first-rounder, a hot rookie, and 2 starting pitchers for 2 starting pitchers. It got vetoed. And I don't think anybody in this league has any question as to why. 2 days ago, or yesterday, the 21st, the vetoed trade was JD Martinez, Nick Castellanos, the only holdover from Frank's draft, by the way, the only holdover from Frank's draft, Jake Odorizzi, and Julio Teheran for Ozzie Albies and Josh Donaldson. In 1 month, Frank went from needing starting pitching so badly that he made I don't know how many trades to get and pick and choose individual pitchers, whether it was Jake Odorizzi or Julio Teheran in the Jose Ramirez trade, or Marcus Stroman 1-for-1 for Austin Riley. He made all of these moves to acquire these pitchers and assemble this starting rotation, to then turn around and say, okay, I don't need pitching anymore. Now I need 2 Braves? Have we forgotten that Frank's a Braves fan? Is this a homer move? Is he giving up? Hang on, let me just hear me out.
No,
let me have this.
I know, you
let me have this. Is he giving up a guy that he traded Juan Soto and Javier Baez for 2 Braves? Is he jumping off of 2 pitchers that he traded Jose Ramirez and what was the Odorizzi trade? I don't even remember anymore.
It was Riley, I think. Was it Riley?
No, it was Riley for Stroman. Who did he give up for? God damn it.
Ryan McMahon.
Yeah.
Ryan McMahon.
Okay, so in theory, this is his 6th round pick. Javier Baez, Juan Soto, Ryan McMahon, and Jose Ramirez for Ozzie Albies and Josh Donaldson. That's the value that he's giving away right here. And the minute that thing came across, I said, veto the shit out of this. It's exactly the same as the one previously. It's the same thing. He's just got a different target. And Frank came on this show recently and said he needed to find a first baseman. Frank came on this show and said he needed to find a second baseman. Frank's come on this show and said he needed to find an outfielder. And every single one of these things Frank has done to try to improve his team. This one doesn't improve his team. Not in my opinion. And look, this guy's at the bottom of the standings. He's traded away his 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, now 6th. All these draft picks. And everything he's gotten for them, he's traded that too. Or dropped it outright. He is left with Carlos Correa on the DL from the deal that he made with Ben on April the 16th. He is left now with Merrill Kelly and pieces of Ozzie Albies and Josh Donaldson in this deal from the deal he made with me the next day. He's had 3 vetoed trades this season. And all 3 of them have involved JD Martinez. Why do you not like JD Martinez? He wanted to trade JD Martinez a week after getting him. Did we forget about the JD, Elias, and Correa deal for DeYoung, Turner, and Bumgarner? On April 23rd that got vetoed? We forgot about that one. Because Mike Haber was about to rip him up in that deal.
Right.
He has not wanted JD Martinez since he traded for him on the 16th. I just want to know why. And if you didn't want him in the first place, why'd you give me your 2nd and 3rd round picks and help me get to the top of the standings? All year, as the rookie manager, that Ben and I both felt kind of needed to get his feet wet here and to see what this league is like. And we thought he would perform pretty decently. And for the first 2 weeks he did. And then he started tinkering. And since he started tinkering, he's plummeted. And it's no surprise that these are direct results. Whether it's the trade with Ben on the 16th, the trade with me the next day, the Hector Neris trade where he got Marco Gonzalez for a closer, trading off a 4th overall pick for now a guy he's turning around and trading away for 2 guys in a 4 for 2. Whether it's getting Steven Matz for Domingo Santana, whether it's McMahon for Odorizzi that now becomes part of this Albies and Donaldson deal. I don't know if Frank just doesn't realize what patience is, or if he's just week to week realizing. Because let's break this down even more simply. JD Martinez this season has hit .285 with 19 homers and 51 RBIs. Nick Castellanos has hit .284 with 11 homers and 36 RBIs. Josh Donaldson, with just those 3 stats. I'm going with those 3 stats alone.
Okay.
All right? Josh Donaldson, .256, 23 homers, 58 RBIs. And Ozzie Albies, .286, 14 homers, 51 RBIs. Albies and JD Martinez, they're identical. You know, you want to talk doubles, you want to talk steals, you want to talk on base percentage. Fine. I'm willing to bet you they line up pretty similarly. And rather than do, okay, 1 outfielder and a pitcher for these 2 guys, he has to cram 2 more pitchers in there. And wonder why this thing gets vetoed. So then the deal now becomes we take Nick Castellanos out. It's still the only holdover from his draft. And I know Frank doesn't like the guy. I know Frank has shopped him for months. It's the only guy he's been patient with. And I don't think it's because he's wanted to. And now he gets 2 Atlanta Braves. And Frank said it on this show multiple times. The Braves are the best offense in the NL. Okay. Okay.
At times they prove that, though.
Yes.
You
sure.
finish and then you let me know when you're done. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's the best offense in the NL. Sure. But just like JD Martinez can lead his team in strikeouts for 1 week and him want to pawn him off, the Braves could get cold. Don't forget, I was right about Austin Riley when I called it that he would hit a skid. He is awful in June. The same thing could happen to either one of these guys. Ozzie Albies had an awful awful second half last year. Josh Donaldson is one wrong step away from the IL. But they're hitting now. And they're hot now. So we want to give up all of our pieces for what's hot right now. Okay. Good luck. I'm done.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot. Firstly, I'll speak on your behalf slightly, but I'm also going to speak on his to play a little good cop.
Okay.
There's something, there's some things you said that are absolutely right. One thing on his behalf, yeah, they are hot. So if they're hot, then they're hot right now. They're good right now. They have more bat. They're a third baseman, second base. We can say that these positions are a little bit more scarce than left field and right field, what JD Martinez is eligible for. Now, yes, look, putting Castellanos in the deal, I thought put it a little bit too far over the edge for me. Making it a 3-for-2, for me, I still think because a pitcher goes 1 every 5 days, in that 1 every 5, there is that chance that they can blow up. You got to play Teheran at the right time. You can't just play him willy-nilly. Same goes for Odorizzi lately, but they're both on good teams. They're both on teams that seems like they're going to win games, and down the stretch as well. So, for me, making it a 3-for-2, I don't think it's as outrageous as some people still think it is. I thought Castellanos definitely put it over the edge, and all he did yesterday was go 3-for-5 with a double and a walk-off homer. Now, I will say now to your defense, I don't know what a guy needs to do for you necessarily to make him worth having. JD Martinez is 56 runs this year. It's certainly, that says a lot, It just means to me he's getting on base enough. A 285 average is more than serviceable, and you can plug him in any day as your left or right fielder. Every day, every guy is going to go 1-for-12 at some point. Everyone goes through streaks. You're going to see it with all the guys that are involved that were almost involved and that are involved in this trade. So, the pitcher for Frank, his assumption or presumption is that the two pitchers that he's moving are going to blow up. He doesn't believe in Teheran in August. He doesn't believe in what Odorizzi can do. He's on an American League team. I guess that was kind of his mentality. Yes, there's a fan mentality to this. And yes, it's a trade that makes you scratch your head, and there have been a couple. The Austin Riley, you called it, and Frank moved him at the right time and did get Stroman for him.
Agreed.
Still on his team. So, as much as there have been some head scratchers, there's also been some savvy moves as well that Frank has made. And at the end, here's what I'll say, okay? I don't think all these trades are the difference between him having a more successful season or not. It could be if they went in other directions and he ends up getting different guys for him instead. But I don't think that is the underlying reason. However, I will say the lack of patience has not helped them. So, from what you're saying, I do think, the tinkering, it's hard to not notice how often it's happened. And I do think that there is, you just got to stick with your guys and let them roll for, a month at least before you realize, what they can or can't do. As far as the trade goes, again, I had no problem putting this one through that I did today. It was hard for me to do the one that was vetoed, Joe. You said something, a couple of other people said something. I was thinking to myself, you know what? At the end of the day, you got to let guys take risks, and you have to let guys that are another thing is that they're two spoiling teams. Let that happen, but that doesn't mean that in their schedules and who they're playing, Joe, it's not going to make a difference. It might make a difference, and that's important. And I think that's something to say that at the end of the day, I don't want a manager. Now, if a manager complains for any reason, you can say, hey, commissioner, don't care what people think, But to an extent, I do. I do care what this league thinks. And I don't want to hear at the end of the season, well, you know what? If that trade that was a little lopsided doesn't go through and I don't play this guy on this particular week, where he was awesome against me, maybe I make the playoffs. I don't want to hear that, man. And call me a guy that can't just shake it off, but I can't just shake it off. I want at the end of the day someone to say, I tip my cap, I didn't make the playoffs because of me. I'm the reason why. So when the deal got refigured and rejigged. It seemed a lot better for me on paper. Two pitchers that obviously I know starting pitching is very important in our league, but it's one every 5 days and it could blow up in your face at any time. He gets two solid guys that are hot right now. They can plug in the infield. They can wreck a ball game on any given day. They can help you win a week. The trade is not as outrageous on paper as if the Castellanos was added. I still think I give the slight edge over to Josh, but in the end, it's two teams that are playing for spoiler, and good for them to just put one more through before the deadline.
Sure. You hit on one thing that I wanna rebut to you. You asked.
Okay.
You said, isn't it fair to allow a manager to take some risk?
Yes.
Hasn't Frank taken a ton of risk this season with all these trades?
No doubt.
So at what point do you say? Well,
Correa and go ahead, Joe.
At what point do you say, you know what? Like you're making these deals for the sake of making deals?
I think so too. I think that's part of it.
I think it's just I like the idea of talking trade, and I like
he has a need that he doesn't necessarily need.
No.
That's what I think happened.
Yeah. The fact that he traded for JD Martinez and Merrill Kelly, dropped Merrill Kelly 12 hours later, and was in talks for another deal involving sending away JD Martinez 6 days later tells me everything I need to know about what kind of manager and thought process goes into this type of thing.
Right. Look, the deal is what the deal is.
Sure.
As far as
and good on Josh for finding one more deal that he can get a top level player and a couple of pitchers. And if this thing turns around, and look, I'm not saying Frank doesn't have some value coming back. He does. But what is the end game here?
No, I don't know the answer to that, man.
Because it was a first baseman last week. It was starting pitching 2 weeks ago. Because I guarantee if you ask Frank right now, he's happy with his team and he's ready to go until, I don't know, he needs a first baseman again and Hunter Dozier goes over 7 in 2 games.
No, the pitching is what's concerning me now, because now he's kind of depleted something that
Sure.
he made into its strength.
He
did
built
a good job after Montas got suspended, and he was able to make shift and work his way into a solid rotation, and then he moved 2 pieces of it. That to me was the head scratching part, because he eliminated a strength that he had. He actually had a strength as it compares to other opponents. Now, if you have power, like if you're a strength, if you're a team that has power, you're going to match up against some teams, but you're not going to match up against like all of them. If you have a good rotation, you can match up with every team in our league. So I thought that giving away a strength along with JD Martinez, to me, it didn't make his. I don't think it made his team better. But all that needs to happen is one of those guys that he moves away have a bad season or get hurt, and then Frank wins the trade.
Sure.
So a 3 for 2. I'll give it to him. I'm wondering if next year it's going to be a similar type of approach from Frank, as far as kind of being a savvy, trying to make trades all the time, trying to make pickups, or is he going to kind of learn and maybe stick to his guys a little bit longer? It'll be interesting to see what happens next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's move to the next matchup, unless there's anything else we need to delve into in these trades. I don't think there is.
You got all the key players and the key pitchers and then what's on the bench, then we're good to go.
Okay. Then we've got Chris Levy. Jose told a story taking on Andy Solar Greco. Chris gets a 12-9 win here. Chris takes down the win by 2 walks. Andy wins by 2 strikeouts by a pitcher. They did not tie in anything. This was a pretty separated matchup, right? Like, if you look at any one category, it was close, but it wasn't so close that you're like, oh my god, one move makes the difference, right? It's 5 runs, it's 3 doubles, it's kind of all over the place when it comes to the vast majority of these stats. For the week, Chris went 15 for 69. That's a 217 batting average. 9 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 6 walks, and 20 strikeouts. As far as moves are concerned, just again sort of chasing starting pitching. I think he was going after innings and strikeouts toward the end. He does nip the innings, doesn't quite get the strikeouts. Especially on Sunday when he dropped 3 players and picked up 4 starters to try to go after the innings and the strikeouts, and just missed out on the strikeouts. Those starters were Adrian Morjon, I don't know who that guy is, Steven Matz, Glenn Sparkman, and Dylan Peters. For Andy on his bench, he went 4 for 34. Credit to Andy. That's a 118 batting average. 4 runs.
Yeah, and to still lose, you'd think that wins average and on-base percentage. Like, that should definitely do it.
You get
such a good day, such a good week. For 10 days to do that on your bench, that's awesome.
You know what's funny? That's not even the best in the league on the bench this week.
No way.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to it yet. 4 runs, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, 7 walks, 11 strikeouts, and 2 errors for Andy's bench. Again, there's nothing that you can... I mean, maybe the walks. Because he lost that by 2, and he had 7 on the bench. Okay.
Maybe.
But there was not one glaring thing that stuck out to me like, oh, this is definitely the play you should have made. It just didn't exist. He made the trade we talked about. Was bouncing around middle infielders like Eric Sogard and Starlin Castro and Joey Wendell for a little bit. Does pick up whatever a Sam Gallagher is on Kansas City, who went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts on Sunday. That
not helpful.
Not helpful at all, especially when you lose average as close as he did. It was only 15 points, but get a hit or 2 in there.
Well, but maybe on base percentage, if he doesn't
9
play
points.
The guy, that might be the difference.
9 points. Yep, that very well might be the difference. At the end of the day, Andy kind of nipped this one. It was very close coming down to the end, right? It was 9-7, 10-9, 10-11, and
Andy had the lead at one point.
Andy had the lead on Thursday going into Friday, 12-9, and to see it completely flip in Chris's favor, I think it has a lot to do with the way he played on Sunday. Starting those 4 pitchers, they weren't terrible, but he ran the risk of blowing apart his ERA, but he was already losing that. He was already losing the ERA. He was already losing the WHIP. He was ahead enough in walks and home runs given up that he could afford to do that. He was also losing in losses. So he pitches 9 innings, doesn't even start Dylan Peters, by the way, who would have won him strikeouts. Dylan Peters would have won him the strikeouts category. He didn't start him. So he only gets the 9 innings. He also benches... Wow. He benched Jordan Yamamoto. He benched Steven Matz. Any one of those 3 guys would have won him the strikeouts category.
No, Chris at the end, he made all these pickups on Sunday.
And only started 2 of them.
Towards the end, he was watching the scores of everything, and he slowly started benching them and started just playing like, cool, I get it. I understood the play.
Yeah. Okay. Key players this week. For Chris, who won the week, it's going to be Jose Altuve. He had a fantastic week. 348 average, 362 on base, 10 runs, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, a steal, a walk, 10 strikeouts. You don't like the 4 errors, but you're going to live with it if Jose Altuve is going to put up those numbers for you. The other part of his namesake to his team, Trevor Story, 286 average, 302 on base, 6 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, a walk, 11 strikeouts. And finally, Michael Brantley, 400 average, 463 on base, 7 runs, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Offensively, it was a really good week for Chris. He took down the vast majority of those categories. Runs, doubles, and stolen bases are the ones he lost. But for the most part, that really carried him. The offense really carried him here.
Oh my God! On Friday, after you said that Andy had the lead, but then on Friday, Chris decides to bat 424 with a 457 on base percentage, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs on that day, right? So that's Friday. Then he comes back on Saturday and he hits 353 with a 389 on base percentage, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. And if you thought he was done and you thought that wasn't enough for you, then he decided to bat on Sunday 370 with a 469 on base, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. I mean, what the heck are you supposed to do?
Watch this team go off, apparently, because that's 3 days of just ridiculous offensive production that turned the tide. I mean, if you look at the on-base percentage, he only won it by 9 points. The fact that he hit as well as he did
was close enough.
Pitching-wise for Chris, we're going to go to Josh Hader, 4 relief appearances, 4 2/3, 2 saves. He did give up 2 homers, but he struck out 9. That is, I said this with Scott Oberg on my team a couple of weeks ago. You get 9 strikeouts over 4 2/3 from a reliever. That's a whole nother start. That's a pitcher that you don't have to worry about. For the most part, walking very many guys because he's only coming in for an inning at a time, but he's going to strike out the side. Lucas Giolito was good for him, 12 2/3. He did take a loss, but got 14 strikeouts with a 284 and a 126 whip, a home run, and 2 walks. And finally, Brandon Workman, 3 relief appearances, 2 saves, 3 2/3, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, a 245 and an 082 whip. Those relievers really carried him to as close to a strikeout win as he could. To get 16 strikeouts over 8 1/3 innings and seven appearances, you'll take that every single time.
Yeah.
For Andy, Ramon Laureano. Now I know this guy was on your team, Benny. He was
on my team for 2 seconds. He was on my team for the that series in Japan. That was it. And
I remember thinking, wow, that was a really good pickup. Like I had thought, like, this kid's bounced around quite a few teams. I've never actually had my hands on him. This week he was fantastic. 471 average, 513 on base, 13 runs, 6 doubles, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, 2 steals, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, and an error.
That's great numbers. I mean, it makes sense that the Oakland Athletics have been doing so well. This guy's probably a big part of it.
Oh, yeah. And, he started off hitting toward the bottom of the lineup. He's moving his way up the lineup slowly. They had him hitting 9th and 8th in the beginning of the season. He's hitting 5th pretty regularly now. And he's kind of earned that job. Rafi Devers had an unbelievable week. 317 average, 378 on base, 8 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 4 homers, 13 RBIs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 3 errors. And finally, Adalberto Mondesi, before he got hurt and went on the DL, hit 263 with the same on-base percentage, 4 runs, 3 steals is what I highlight here because Andy, wins the steals category by 5. Chris only had 3, and Mondesi had 3 by himself, so I'm just going to highlight him real quick. Pitching-wise, Patrick Corbin, 11 innings, 15 strikeouts, a 4.09 ERA, a 1.64 whip, 4 walks, and a home run. Trevor Bauer, 12 2/3, a win, a loss. Gave up 5 home runs and 5 walks, but 21 strikeouts and a 4.26 ERA and a 1.26 whip. This is exactly the reason I wanted to get off this guy. He gets you the high strikeout totals. His starts were both at home against Minnesota and Detroit. He had 11 and 10 strikeouts apiece in those starts, but 3 homers and 2 homers respectively. I felt like, and again, I could go back to it, I felt like this guy was a poor man's Justin Verlander if you could live with the walks and the home run totals that he was going to give up. But the strikeout...
That trade is so fair, though, because if you get Jorge Polanco in that deal with Bauer for Verlander, I think the value is very even there.
Absolutely. But the strikeout totals that you get with Trevor Bauer is just... You almost can't match them. 12 2/3 innings, 21 strikeouts. It's ridiculous. It's almost a 2-to-1. It's almost 2 strikeouts an inning. And Domingo Germán.
And for him, it's not all a stuff thing with Trevor Bauer. He's also studying every single batter.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of those strikeouts come because this guy's thinking he's going to throw one pitch. He's like, nah, I'm just going to throw it in the dirt, but you think it's going to be a strike, and that's it.
Yeah. Finally, Domingo Germán is another great pitcher for Andy's team here. 12 innings, 2 wins, 2 home runs and 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. So that's it's a strikeout per inning, a 1.50 ERA and a .75 WHIP. Those starts came at home against Tampa Bay and Toronto. Tampa's been kind of struggling lately, but they did, put up 2 homers against him. Either way, guy's been lights out, and he's got 12 wins on the season.
Wow.
With this win, Chris moves to 8th in the league. He moves to 8th. He's 11.5 back of first place. 2.5 games back of Bobby for 6th place. He's right there.
Right.
There's
give me some of the numbers of what he's done against his opponents.
Okay. You want the head-to-head stats? Let's see.
Yeah.
Or do you want the his schedule?
I want head-to-head first.
Okay. He's 9-6 in runs, 9-5-1 in doubles, 4-4-7 in triples, 7-7-1 in home runs, 6-8-1 in RBIs, 2-10-3 in steals. That's kind of his weak spot. 5-8-2 in walks, 12-3-0 in strikeouts, 7-7-1 in errors, 6-9-0 in average, and 7-8-0 in on-base percentage. So it's a pretty 500 offense, save for runs and doubles and not striking out.
Seems to be solid, and the strikeouts are
right. Pitching wise, let's find him again. 8-7-0 in innings, 7-2-6 in wins, 7-8-0 in losses. I'm just going to skip over complete games. 8-4-3 in saves, 9-5-1 in home runs, 8-7-0 in walks, 9-6-0 in strikeouts, 10-5-0 in ERA, 8-7-0 in WHIP, and 5-8-2 in relief appearances. Again,
it seems like it's more of the pitching.
It's more of the pitching than it is the hitting, and that's pretty indicative of the team he's assembled. He's got Giolito and Strasburg and to a lesser extent Price and Porcello. These are guys that are going to help him quite a bit.
Solid. Yeah, 19 games over 500. That's why. I mean, that's enough pitching to get and enough hitting. Like you said, the slugging numbers. That's more of a 500 thing, but just enough, and he's right in this race.
Right, and his schedule coming down the rest of the way, pretty favorable. He's got James Santangelo this week. He's got Mike Haber and James McCloskey in 17 and 18. That is tough. But 3 of his final 4 are spoiler teams in Josh Haber, Frank, and Nick. The only one that's not in there, the only one that's in the race, Jimmy Dunlap.
Okay.
So
3 out of 7, he's got to deal with it. 4 out of 7, I would take that.
I would take that schedule all day. I most certainly would.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to Bobby Russo and Nick Homan. Bobby gets the second biggest win of the week with a 15-6 win over Nick. Close categories. Bobby wins by a win and 2 saves. Nick wins by a homer and 2 RBIs with a loss. And they did not tie in anything. On Bobby's bench, 15 for 62. That's a 242 batting average, 7 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, a home run, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, 26 strikeouts. Bobby lost by 1 home run and 2 RBIs. He left 1 home run and 5 RBIs on his bench. You can't get mad at this guy. He got almost everything he possibly could. And the only home run he left on the bench was Jurickson Profar, who he dropped, going 1 for 4 with the homer, and Josh Bell was the only guy he could theoretically sub him out for who went 0 for 4 at first base. You're never doing that in this or any lifetime, so just chalk that home run up and call it a day. The other thing I found interesting, Bobby won average and on-base percentage by a considerable margin. 32 points in average and 55 points in on-base percentage. And yet, on the 15th, which was last Monday, his entire team went 1 for 28. That's an .036 batting average.
That's fascinating.
Not a whole lot to write home as far as moves are concerned. Bobby kind of cruised in this one.
How many runs did you say Bobby had on the bench?
7. And he lost by 4.
By 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
Yeah, I mean, but again...
It's great that he walked into a guy that struck out 76 times and 71 holds up.
Yeah. He struck out 76 times, and Nick only got 75 hits for the week.
Right.
Yeah. You know, he kind of cruised to the win here, in much the sense that, you know, it started out fairly close, and as the long week continued, 12-6, 13-5, 14-6, now 15-6 to end the week. You know, he just slowly but surely, incrementally extended that lead and called it a week. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll move up to 6th. Thank you very much. For Nick, he went 12 for 54 on the bench. That's a .222 batting average. 11 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a steal, 12 walks, and 15 strikeouts. You know, he benched Daniel Hudson again this week with a relief appearance. He benched a pretty decent Wade Miley start early in the week. You know, Christian Walker was good for him on the 17th when Austin Riley went 0-for-4 with 3 strikeouts. But at the end of the day, like, I think this was just a matchup of, like, Bobby's assembled a better squad for this particular week. And maybe overall...
He matches up great against him.
Yeah, it's just...
He matches up so good against this team.
Yeah, this is just a team that I would say 8 weeks out of 10, Bobby would win, and probably 4 times out of those 10, he'd win like this.
Right.
Now, it's just... It's a rough matchup for Nick. I mean, he only made 3 roster moves, but he did pick up Homer Bailey, who just got traded, so we'll see what happens there. You know,
solid decision. At 80 innings, go 5-1 in a 3.26.
Yeah. And
he only won with the loss. But 5-1, but Bobby had 6 wins, and we'll get to that later how it happened.
Yeah.
And then a 3.01 ERA from Bobby. This is too good. Your 3.26 should win. It's frustrating probably for Nick.
Absolutely. To have a season like this where, you know, he's now close to 40 games under at the bottom playing spoiler, like I'm sure it's incredibly frustrating for him to see this. And if I look back on his schedule, you know, this is his 2nd loss in a row. He lost to you last week. You know, after coming off of
this week. He's got you now.
Yeah. And he just came off of, before he got to this little stretch of you, me, and Bobby, and Jason the week after me, he was on a 3-game winning streak that looked pretty good. You know, he beat Frank, he beat Jimmy Dunlap, he beat James Santangelo. Those latter 2 fairly convincingly, 13-8 and 14-6 respectively. You know, he had to feel like something was coming. Something's coming right. Maybe I can make a late run. And then he eats these 2 losses and, you know, stares down the barrel of me and Jason and Ari and Mike Sherman coming up. Those are his next 4 opponents. Yeah. You know, rough. Let's go to key players for the week. We're going to start with Bobby's team as he won. It's the same guy we have talked about, I don't know, it feels like 6 straight weeks now. It's Ketel Marte. 424 average, 513 on base, 7 runs, 5 doubles, 2 triples, a homer, 7 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. The guy will not stop. And at what point do you start thinking, if the Arizona Diamondbacks can climb back into the wild card, I mean, they're what, 2 games out right now? If they can climb back in, at what point does this guy start getting MVP consideration? I recognize he plays in the NL. You've got Bellinger and Yelich and Bell all ahead of him. But like,
yeah, he's not going to get that. He's going to be 5th in the voting at most.
Sure, at best. But I think he deserves it. You know, I think he deserves at least some consideration. Like, if not for this guy and Eduardo Escobar, where are the Diamondbacks?
Right.
Matt Chapman, who he just traded for, 440 average, 481 on base, 4 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. And finally, and I think I owe a bit of an apology here. I'm going to eat a little bit of crow.
Wow.
Brian Dozier had a good week, and like maybe he's not as fucking horrible as I've said he is.
Bobby and I talked about that. We said that you shit on him too much, and he's still a solid player.
I will eat a little bit of crow for this week. He hit 280. He had a 455 on base percentage, 5 runs, a double, 2 RBIs, a steal, 7 walks, 8 strikeouts, and an error. Yes, I shit on Brian Dozier. Don't get me wrong. Brian Dozier was huge for me in the past, but that was 2014, 2015. It's 5 years ago. I get it. Bobby Bobby bought him in the 8th round? Wow. That's a lot higher than I would have anticipated. He's not complete garbage. He's
not an 8th rounder. I'll give you that.
He's not an 8th rounder. He is not an 8th round pick. He is a serviceable guy. If he had gone in the 18th round, you'd have a steal. If he had gone in the 15th round, that seems fair. He's a serviceable second baseman.
Well, I got Jason Kipnis playing second base for me. He's a little better than that.
I'll agree with that.
Like
Kipnis does other things, but I'll give you that. Those are fairly decent comps. Kipnis is a serviceable second baseman. Any event, pitching-wise for Bobby, Roberto Osuna, 5 relief appearances, 4 2/3 with a loss, but 3 saves, a home run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. The ERA isn't pretty, but the 3 saves is what matters because he and Sean Doolittle combined for 5, and Nick only had 3. Noah Syndergaard. Well, okay, Noah Syndergaard, 14 innings, a win, 17 strikeouts, only 1 walk, a 1.93 ERA, and an 0.86 WHIP. We'll take that. Thank you very much. It was against Miami and San Francisco, both in their parks, which are both really good pitchers' parks. So take it for what it is, but maybe it's a turnaround. And he gets San Diego, by the way, day after tomorrow. So we'll see where that goes. Finally, it's the other half of that two-headed monster that Bobby has. It's Garrett Cole, 13 innings, 24 strikeouts, 3.46 ERA, 1.15 WHIP. For Nick...
Okay, there's one guy you can't leave out because it's critical. I realize it's a reliever, but Trevor Gott's performance for him
sure.
is just unbelievable. 4 2/3. The win I'm going to talk about in a second, but no walks, no home runs, just 7 strikeouts, ho-hum, a no ERA, a .43 WHIP in 5 appearances. Mm-hmm. That's what Trevor Gott did, and what he finally did, the finishing touches of the week for Bobby, was the fact that he was tied in wins, and the San Francisco Giants-Mets game went into extra innings again. And Yastrzemski's walk-off home run gets Bobby the win from Trevor Gott and gets him that category, 6-5. Unbelievable.
Yep. And that changes it from a 14-6 win to a 15-6 win. I know that doesn't sound like much, but again, if we're talking, as close as these standings are, and it's going to come down, I'm telling you, somebody's going to get knocked out of this playoff race by half a game, a game and a half.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that really will come back and be noticeable. We'll jump to Nick's team now. George Springer, 297 average, 409 on base, 10 runs, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 9 RBIs, 6 walks, 8 strikeouts, and an error. Yasiel Puig is continuing to have a really hot summer here. 300 average, 333 on base, 6 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. And finally, DJ LeMahieu. Again, this is another guy, where would the Yankees be without this guy early on in the season? 308 average, 341 on base, 6 runs, a double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts with an error. Pitching-wise, I think these are 2 names you might recognize here as guys that Nick got via a trade. We're going to start with John Lester. John Lester, 12 2/3, 12 strikeouts, a win. He did give up 3 homers to a 4.97 ERA, but the win is what was important. The innings were huge for him because, again, he only won 3 categories. So I'm going to find guys who didn't get a loss, who pitched a lot of innings, and who didn't give up a lot of home runs. John Lester led the team in home runs with 3. Everybody else did not did not give up a home run or only gave up one. He led the team in innings. The second one I'll highlight, Caleb Smith. 11 innings, a win, 13 strikeouts, only one home run, a 3.27 ERA, and a 1.36 whip. And finally, Jake DeGrom, 12 innings, 16 strikeouts, 0.75 ERA, 1.25 whip, and a win. You know, those three guys, along with Shane Bieber, those four guys all pitched 11, 12 innings apiece. And it got Nick the win in innings. You know, you take all of those time after time. If you've got nothing, we can jump to Ari and Josh.
No, well, let's just talk about Bobby's position here.
Sure.
As we go forward.
Sure.
7 weeks to go. He's got me next week, and this is, I think everyone's figured out that this is, now from now on, we're all in rematches.
Yeah.
We're playing guys that we played once before. From here on out, and we'll see what our record is against each other for 2 matchups. But as far as Bobby goes now, he's in 6th place. He moves up a little bit. He's had a great season, and he's almost 30 games over here. He's 24, I believe, 24 over 500.
Yep.
Definitely a great spot to be in. He goes through the gauntlet pretty soon. So
He's gonna run the gauntlet against guys. Now, he's gonna run the gauntlet against guys that are sort of perpetual playoff teams, but not all of them are this season, right? He's got you.
Right.
He's got he's got a Santangelo. We know Santangelos do well in this league. He's got me. He's got Jason, Ari, and Mike Sherman, and finishes the season with Uncle Barry.
Uncle Barry, right?
That matchup, I'm gonna say right now, that matchup has every bit of the making of a spoiler.
Yeah,
Uncle
I've been
Barry,
thinking about that actually.
having Uncle Barry at the bottom of the standings this year, playing spoiler, and you're staring him down in week 22, I would be afraid of that.
Last guy you would play in the final week.
Yeah, and to run a gauntlet of the guys who are really on the outside fringe and Uncle Barry in the last 3 weeks, those guys are going to be hunting and pecking for blood. They're going to want to ruin somebody's season, and those 3 guys are about as bad, you know, save for, like, running the gauntlet of, like, I don't know, you and Jimmy and James McCloskey of the on your final 3 weeks. Like, that's a really rough final 3 to run through. And if Bobby's going to make the playoffs, he's going to have to earn it in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and Uncle Barry, he's a guy that always wants to make the consolation bracket. Like, even though they can't make any kind of adds or drops anymore, it's still always a goal for him. So if he's striving for that 13 spot, I mean, no, I think 13 you don't make it, but if he's striving for that 12 spot just to get 7th place after it, then forget it.
And he's only 6 back of that. He's only 6 back of Andy at that 12 spot. So yeah, he still feels like he's got something to play for. Let's go ahead and jump to Ari and Josh. You know, coming into this week, I figured if Ari doesn't get a decent-sized win, his season might be over. He gets a 13-8 win over Josh Haber here. And this matchup was really, really competitive coming down to the weekend. You know, after an interesting start where Ari started off 13-4, 13-5 the end of last week, it got very close toward the middle here, and Ari just, again, incrementally brought it back to his side and gets a 13-8 win. On his bench this week, he goes 31 for 130. Is that good, Ben?
It's like in the 260s, maybe?
238. 238.
Oh, no.
I would have thought the same thing. If I'm honest with you, I actually thought it was going to be better than that. He had 14 runs, 4 doubles. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. 4 doubles, a homer, 7 RBIs, 2 steals, 10 walks, 29 strikeouts, and an error. The thing is, offensively, nothing was close. You know, Ari won by 9 runs.
On base percentage.
On base percentage is the only one that's relatively close. That was 9 points.
And average has changed.
10 points. 10 points could change in a day. You know, Ari only made 4 moves in the week. Flipping around Jake Bowers, picking up and dropping Travis d'Arnaud, and he dropped Travis d'Arnaud on that 3-homer day.
Right.
If he has Travis d'Arnaud on that 3-homer day, I bet his on-base percentage is better. You know.
Right. Oh, also, I mean, what's funny is that Josh Donaldson and Ozzie Albies, they have good days for Josh on Sunday night. And that's a big difference with the on-base percentage because they just kept shooting that up, and it just sealed on-base percentage for Josh.
Sure.
Let's say they had bad days last night, then Ari wins 14-7.
Sure. Ari did drop Steven Matz. It looks like that guy's just sort of cannon fodder in the waiver wire anymore. So.
Wow, did I get it right with him, huh?
You nailed that one. Yep. All right. Here it is. Arguably the best bench statistics I have seen all season on a 10-day week. Josh Haber went 4 for 39. That is a 103 batting average across 10 days. 4 runs, 2 doubles, an RBI, 3 walks, and 12 strikeouts. That's it.
Wouldn't have mattered on anything.
Wouldn't have mattered on a damn thing. The fact that
I mean, that's very impressive, but he still loses 13-8.
Sure. The fact that he only had 4 hits the entire 10 days on his bench is astounding.
Very good.
Is astounding.
Yeah, out of how many at-bats?
39.
Oh, it's good.
You know, it's almost 1 in 10.
Hey, that's why you can say that's why he won on base percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. He did drop AJ Pollock, or no, he picked up AJ Pollock because somebody else dropped him, and I was kind of surprised to see that, especially with him coming back. You know, if you add AJ Pollock and JD Martinez as an with Bryce Harper, all of a sudden that outfield is pretty scary.
Yeah.
You know, and you add in, Freddie Freeman and Eric Hosmer, and all of a sudden that offense is pretty frightening.
Yeah, solid.
Yep. He dropped Mike Leake. Thank you very much, Josh. You cost me quite a bit with that. Appreciate it. But there again, I dropped him too. He did pick up Gio Urshela, who I dropped, and Urshela's been really good the last month or so. Other than that, not a whole lot to write home about this matchup. Again, average and on base percentage were close. Ari kind of dominated the pitching stats for once, but it's not a case of he pitched to a 2.6 ERA. No, it was a 4.64, a 1.24 whip. His opponent put up a 5.66. It's like we've said all season. Ari's gonna be competitive, but he's gonna need his opponent to do poorly in order to win a lot of pitching categories. Josh didn't win a game over 10 games or 10 days. He didn't win a single pitching game. None of his pitchers got a win. So let's go to key players here. For Ari, Ahmed Rosario is having himself a summer, is he not? At 412.
He's having a really good season. I'm really happy about it, actually. He's a bright spot for the Mets.
Absolutely. 412 average, 459 on base this week, 9 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, a steal, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Nolan Arenado, as always, 257 with a 316, 2 runs, a double, 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. And Charlie Blackmon, 265, 286 on base, 7 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. If you want to point to somebody who might have hurt his on-base percentage or hurt Ari's, strikeout totals, look no further. Rougned Odor, who had 14 strikeouts and a 156 average. That's kind of the guy you point to. For pitching for Ari, well, we waited this long, and it's finally come. Craig Kimbrell makes this key players list with 5 relief appearances, 5 clean innings, 4 saves, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts with a 1 whip. It's what you paid for. It's what you waited this long for. Walker Buehler, 13 innings, a win, 18 strikeouts, a 1.38 ERA, and 0.92 whip. 3 homers you don't like, but 3 walks is really good for 2 starts.
Yeah, 18 strikeouts over 2 starts, too. You cannot complain about that.
Absolutely. And finally, along with Craig Kimbrell, you waited this long, here's Dallas Keuchel. 12 and 2/3, a win, a loss, 3 homers you don't like, 6 walks you don't like, 10 strikeouts, 3.55 ERA, a 1.42 WHIP. That is serviceable. That is serviceable.
Oh, yeah, very solid.
It's solid. But it's like we talked about with Keuchel. He's really the number 2 in this rotation. But I don't think he's a number 2 in fantasy. Like, I really think he slots more as a 3 or a 4. A low 3 or a high 4. And if Ari's going to make it, he's going to do it in spite of his pitching. And he's done it all season. You know? He's done it all season. His team stats are pretty bad. He's last in ERA. He's last in strikeouts. He's first in walks given up, mostly because...
Well, that's good.
Well, yes, but he's also...
Because he penny pinches to the 37 innings.
Exactly. He's dead last in innings, you know.
Right.
So...
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying about Keuchel also. To me, he's really like there's not too many like awesome starts in there. It's usually like a nice start and then a bad start.
Yeah.
You know, a nice start and, you know.
Like an okay start, you know. Yeah. You know.
Right.
There's nothing jumping out at me going, oh my god, this guy is a future. No, he doesn't have the strikeout totals to be a number 2 behind. Like he's
no, because he doesn't have the velocity in his pitches
right.
at all.
Look at
type of pitcher. He's more finesse.
Look at a solid number 2 or 3 like Robbie Ray on James Santangelo's team. High strikeout rate, goes deep into games. Dallas Keuchel isn't that. You know, Dallas Keuchel's a ground ball pitcher. He's going to work to contact. And he's going to live and die by you know, living on the corners, which is why he has so many walks.
Right.
For Josh this week, we're going to highlight Josh Donaldson because he's leaving his team. 313 average, 488 on base, 9 runs, 5 homers, 13 RBIs, a steal, 10 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 2 errors. Yeah.
Awesome week.
It's an awesome week. It's an awesome week, and that's exactly why Frank bought into him and needed him so badly. You know, I just wonder if next week, if he hits, you know, 189 with 10 strikeouts and 4 walks and a homer, if he's all of a sudden jumping off of this train.
Interesting.
Because it's completely realistic. Every guy has a hot streak and every guy has a cold streak. You know, Josh Donaldson is hot right now. If next week he doesn't perform, does Frank all of a sudden try to push him away? I don't know.
I don't know.
Bryce Harper, 306 average, 395 on base, 4 runs, 5 doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs, 6 walks, 11 strikeouts. And A.J. Pollock, 389 average, 455 on base, 5 runs, a double, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 2 steals, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. If this guy can stay healthy the rest of the way, that's a hell of an ad for Josh to find this late, especially considering Jimmy dropped him on the 14th, and I'm not entirely sure why, but anyway, pitching-wise for Josh, Kyle Hendricks was really good. 13 innings, a loss, 3 homers, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts, a 2.77 ERA, and an 0.92 WHIP. It was difficult to find a couple of more guys because of how poorly he did pitch. Nobody got a win. He pitched to a 5.66 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP. But I am going to give it to Reyes Moronta. 6 relief appearances, 5 and 2/3, 7 strikeouts, a 1.59 ERA, a 1.24 WHIP. He did have 3 walks.
6 relief appearances.
6 relief appearances is what it is. And finally, I'm going to give it to Chris Archer. 18 strikeouts over 12 innings. He wasn't very good. You know, a 4.50 ERA each time out, which technically that's 2 quality starts.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, that's not what you paid for when you bought Chris Archer. You were hoping for a lot better. On the season, he's got a 5.36 ERA and a 1.41 WHIP. You know, you kind of believed that on a good season he'd be a low 4s ERA with around that WHIP. He's Pittsburgh bought in on this guy and they gave away the farm for him, and he's just not performed for them. Going forward, I mean, Ari's still clinging on to life here.
Gotta win out. Gotta win out. I think he's just gotta win every single week.
Well, he starts with Frank, and that's a winnable matchup. From there, it goes to Jimmy, Nick, you, Bobby, me, and Jason. He finishes with arguably the hardest schedule to make it. Of you,
Yeah,
Bobby, me,
like
and
I
Jason.
say, what we said after 2 weeks, if he's around, yeah, I mean, it's possible that he could just mow through us. He beat you once. He tied with me.
Yeah.
He's got the talent. He's got the team that can do it every week. Could
Sure.
be, well, I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. It's really about his management going forward. If he can leave tough pitching stats on the bench, if he rolls with his deep bench and he keeps on leaving home runs on the bench, he was a little better about it this week, but
Sure.
that would be the difference.
Yeah. As for Josh, well, it's kind of a lost season for Josh, unfortunately. He's got Mike Sherman, who he could play spoiler against. He could really end Mike Sherman's season here if he were to get a big win. After that, it's Uncle Barry in seeding toward the consolation bracket. It's Andy who's trying to get things right. It's Chris Levy who's in it. Mike Haber who's in it. James McCloskey and James Santangelo to finish out the year. It's a spoiler schedule. It really is. Where the final 4 weeks, 3 of them are guys that are in it.
Yeah, he could definitely. He plays his brother at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be an interesting matchup now that he's made this trade.
Yeah.
We'll see what JD Martinez and these pitchers do against Mike Haber.
Yep, absolutely. All right, buddy. That will conclude the matchups. Let's jump to best and worst, shall we?
Sure.
All right.
What do you want to do first?
Best start of the week. What do you got?
I'm going with this Miles Mikolas character on Uncle Barry's team. That was just an impressive, complete game. Hang on, I'm trying to get the damn numbers here.
Yeah, it came on Monday, which really set the tone for that matchup.
Right. Yeah, 8 hits, 3 strikeouts, just completely solid all around. I realize that Barry doesn't win this matchup, but it's not for this guy's reason. I mean, this guy got him so close. It was just what Mike Haber did on Sunday.
Yeah.
14 innings. And gave
Yeah,
him
it put him in
or whatever.
it put him in a perfect position to win that matchup, and
Yeah.
if not for a heroic comeback of Mike's team,
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna give credit where it's due. Jimmy Dunlap, Mike Leake, damn near threw a no-hitter on fucking Friday, and really turned the tide of it, and really offset the balance of the matchup, because the matchup was pretty close. It was always like 11-9, 10-9, somewhere in there. The Friday pitching performance he put on just weighted down his side and he took control of the matchup. Complete game shutout, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That's an 0.22 whip. Congratulations, sir. Great stream. How about best offensive player?
The best offensive player. I'm actually going with an unusual one because it's from a team that's kind of on the bottom, but it was a player that was involved in the trade. That's Rafael Devers.
Mm-hmm.
He got 8 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 4 dingers, 13 RBIs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. The 3 errors you don't really like. And, I mean, he had 11 errors that week, did Andy, so this guy certainly didn't help. But aside from that, I mean, the 317 batting average is 378 on-base percentage. Solid week for the third baseman on the Boston Red Sox.
Yep. I'm going to go back to my opponent for this week, to Jimmy Dunlap's team. I'm going to give it to Keston Hiura. 512 average of 556 on base, 9 runs, 8 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, 11 RBIs, 3 steals, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, and an error. That guy just, gaped me open and fucking started stabbing. He killed me this week. And, it's every bit of the reason that I lost 15-4. I do want to give honorable mention to Josh Donaldson's 5 homers and 13 RBIs for the week.
Yeah.
It certainly helped Josh. But again, Josh doesn't get a win.
No, he wins the on-base percentage for that reason.
Sure.
So that does spoil Ari to an extent.
Sure. What do you got for worst starts of the week, bub?
I got Herman Marquez. He went 2 2/3 innings in Colorado against the San Francisco Giants. 11 hits, 11 earned runs. That must be something like a 20-something ERA. Who knows?
Try
3
37.
strikeouts, 2 dingers given up.
37.13.
All right, I was off a little.
Yeah. Yeah, a 4.13 whip as well. I'm going to take the blame for my own. I started Logan Allen at Miami on Tuesday. 2 1/3, the loss, 7 earned, a homer, 3 walks, 27 ERA, a 4.29 whip. You know, it really set the tone for what I was going to do going forward. I was going to do what I do, chase innings, chase strikeouts, try to chase wins where I can, do the best I can with the ERA and whip. I lost all of those. Honorable mentions go to Felix Pena in Houston, Jaime Barria in Seattle, and John Gray at home against San Francisco. Worst performer of a hitter.
All right, I'm going to go with Andrew Benintendi. The 4 runs, it's whatever. 3 doubles, that's not terrible at all. The 4 RBIs. It's really what sticks out is the 12 strikeouts, a 147 batting average, and a 293 on base percentage on Jason's team.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked because we got into